advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. It is Autism World Awareness Day and we are here on a Monday. We're not usually here on a Monday anymore, but this was too big of a day to let go. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. And we have got a powerhouse of a show for you today. In fact, we're going to be with you live, we think, for at least 3 hours. We're going to go until we're done. And we think that that's going to be at least 3 hours. Normally, we're 2 hours live on Wednesdays and Thursdays for those of you who are joining us for this special occasion and going, what the heck is this? We are an interactive show. And I have already here with me in the studio, Joanne Lara. She is here joining us from Autism Movement Therapy and Autism Works Now. And we're thrilled to have you co-chair this show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very excited.
Very exciting show.
It's a big, big show. We got a bunch of different guests coming up for you. On the agenda, we have Anita Lesko, who is, my goodness, she's an incredible woman.
That's right.
And on the spectrum, an author, an advocate, somebody who works full-time in an operating room, and we're going to be talking with her about all those things, including the fact that she has written a book that is out today.
That's right.
And it is about, I got goosebumps already. It's about Temple Grandin, who is also going to be joining us in just a little while. I've already spoken to Temple this morning, and she's in fine fettle, and I'm really excited that we're going to.
Oh, you have? Good.
Yes, we're going to be having her talk with Anita about this book and why she chose Anita to write this book about her. This is a book that has not yet been written about Temple Grandin. No. I had the pleasure of reading it, and I can't wait to talk about this with them and with all of you. The title of the book is The Stories I Tell My Friends. And you guys know, if you watch the show, I just love anytime we get an opportunity to talk to Temple Grandin. And I love when we get to talk to her about autism. I mean, that's a great thing, right? But I don't know about the rest of you. I am just always wanting to know more about Temple the woman. Mm-hmm. And that's what this book is about, is Temple the woman. You will find things about her that you didn't know, and it's very exciting. So we're going to talk with both of them. Then a little bit later on in the show, we are going to be joined by Matt Asner from the Autism Society of America. We are also going to be joined, and he's going to be talking to us about AutFest, amazing film festival coming up at the end of the month, and giving us the official word on what the films are, and it's big. It's a powerhouse. It's big, what they're going to be featuring. And then we're going to be joined by Navah Asner, Matt's wife, and she's got a big announcement about the Ed Asner Family Center that's coming up. And then towards the end of the show, fabulous guests, and this is somebody that you have close ties with, Kameena. Ballard-Dawkins is going to be here with her daughter. We're going to be talking about an article. I've got the black and white version here that you guys, that you wrote, but that it has a lot to do with Kameena and an underserved population, the African American population, and what's happening, how. I thought one of the amazing things about this article, again, you got to read this, it's Joanne wrote this, but all the different ways. I think we've known for a while that this is an underserved population, but some of the very specific ways and the ramification that they're being underserved, it gives you chills. So all of that and ever so much more. Plus, we want to hear from you guys. The whole show is meant to be interactive, so Samantha's going to show you right now some of the different ways that you can participate with us. And while she does that, I want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you're on that site, all you have to do is click on the triangle that's on the computer screen. It will start either the live show or the most recently recorded live show. To the side of all that, it's something we call the live feature. If you put your cursor in the box that says your question, all you have to do is type and hit enter. There's no login, there's no username, there's no password. You don't have to prove that you're not a bot, which always is more than I can handle, right? There's no credit card because it's all free and it's all anonymous. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are when you write in. So we do ask that you I'm the only person who gets to see those questions, and I choose whether to show them. You can put personal information. If you do, I won't show it on the screen. I know sometimes you guys write in and say, why didn't you post the question? If there's any question about it, giving personal information, I don't post it. Now, if you don't care about anonymity, you can write into us on Facebook. We're live on Facebook right now, on YouTube. We're live on Periscope, Twitter, all those places that Samantha just showed you. And of course, we'll podcast later to iTunes. It's all free. It's all free. We love hearing from you. We love when we're interactive. So Joanne, today is World Autism Awareness Day, and a lot of people are confused about where this came from, World Autism Awareness Day, and a lot of people think that this is an Autism Speaks event.
Really?
I know, isn't that a strange thing?
Yeah.
And we like to always shed light on that here, that while Autism Speaks participates like everyone else, they did not invent this. This was created by the UN. And I always like to read the brief UN statement about what their mission is for the year. And if you want to help join in, but I want to start with the boring message from the UN about why they did this.
Okay.
Throughout its history, the United Nations family has celebrated diversity and promoted the rights and well-being of persons with disabilities, including learning differences and developmental disabilities. In 2008, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities entered into force, reaffirming the fundamental principle of universal human rights for all. Gives me chills. Its purpose is to promote, protect, and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all persons with disabilities, and to promote respect for their inherent dignity. It is a vital tool to foster inclusive and caring society for all, and to ensure that all children and adults with autism can lead full and meaningful lives. The United Nations General Assembly unanimously declared the 2nd of April as World Autism Awareness Day to highlight the need to help improve the quality of life for those with autism so they can lead full and meaningful lives as an integral part of society. They go on to describe what autism is and what the main characteristics and the fact that it is sometimes stigmatized. But do you want me to read this, or do you want to read the message for this year? Each year the Secretary General puts out a message. They're actually going to be commemorating World Autism Awareness Day on Thursday with many speakers, but would you like me to read it? Or do
You read it and then we can
Okay.
speak to it.
Okay, because each year they have a focus, and so I'm always excited to see what the focus is. Last year it was employment, which was very exciting, so get ready. Strap in, because it's exciting this year. On World Autism Awareness Day, we stand up for the rights of people with autism and speak out against discrimination. This year's observance highlights the importance of empowering women and girls with autism. They face multiple challenges, including barriers to accessing education and employment on an equal footing with others, denial of their reproductive rights, and the freedom to make their own choices, and a lack of involvement in policy making on matters that concern them. Our work for gender equality and women's empowerment must reach all the world's women and girls, and our efforts to achieve the Sustainable Developmental Goals must uphold the 2030 Agenda's core promise to leave no one behind. On World Autism Awareness Day, let us reaffirm our commitment to promote the full participation of all people with autism and ensure they have the necessary support to be able to exercise their rights and fundamental freedoms. That is the Secretary General's message for 2018. Important, in this they're calling this the Year of the Woman, and I'm happy and excited that that includes the women who are on the autism spectrum, because heaven knows they have long deserved to have a place at this table, and in some respects have been the forgotten population because they're outnumbered by the boys on the spectrum.
That's right.
But there are many different things that the UN has looked to. We wanted to talk a little bit about some of the, across the world, they're saying that girls on the autism spectrum are less likely to finish primary school.
Right. Globally.
We don't feel that is as much of an issue here because we have things in place.
That's right. Per IDEA,
Yes.
Individuals with Disabilities Education Act.
And we need to make sure that we're protecting that as we move forward, because I do think that separates us globally here in the United
It
States.
does, absolutely.
But there are some other concerns that are deep that we wanted to discuss. What jumped out at you, Joanne?
Of interest for me was that, one, we already knew the employment, discrimination in the employment arena, but sexual education, interesting.
Yeah.
No support for education of sexual reproduction. This would be globally. I think we would look at areas like Africa and India, probably, in remote villages. So it was education.
There was also violence.
Violence against women, yes, violence
which is
against women.
disproportionate, and I think that's one of those things that, of course, when you hear it, you go, well, okay, that kind of doesn't surprise me, but it's also so unsettling.
It parallels to the numbers in a typical population.
Yes, but I also found it interesting that it's gender-based violence that's disproportionately higher rates in unique forms owing to discrimination and stigma based on both gender and disability.
That's right.
It's like being twice exceptional.
Yeah.
Being a woman, and then being a woman who has any kind of different ability, you're more likely to experience violence.
Yeah.
Horrifying, absolutely horrifying.
I get probably 2 to 3 a month invitations by organizations in Africa. Please come to Africa. It's so needed. Everything, the arts, the expressive arts, the education about autism.
Yeah.
What is autism?
Yeah.
The education about that. And we so want to go. And each time I think that we get to the point where it might happen, they don't have the funding. And I even say, won't charge anything for the workshops, for the parent workshops, for the children, for the staff, there's a lot of orphanages in Kenya specifically who invites us a lot. Just the airfare, because the airfare is pretty steep from California. And I'm hoping we have somebody that's just invited us again in Kenya, in Nairobi. Please come with the expressive arts. And my fingers are crossed, because it's an education. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about probably a lot of violence, probably a lot of discrimination, not only because they're women, but because they're women with a disability.
Absolutely. I might have some people in South Africa to hook you up with that could maybe help. I've had the opportunity to speak in South Africa, but I choose to do it via Skype because I'm not the world globetrotter that you are. I enjoy speaking in South Africa because it's like 1 o'clock in the morning my time. Everything is quiet and I can have a wonderful conversation and have enjoyed that. We are invited every year, my son and I, to go, and I'm going to go at some point, but it's daunting to me. I have not been on I've not been on a plane that many hours. You'd pretty much have to sedate me, like just knock me out, get a brick, knock me out, because I'm not You travel everywhere. Every time I turn around, you're on a plane going to some exotic place. I'm not so good at that. My son loves it, and he wants to go to South Africa, but we'll have to see if we can do that. And
We
you know,
should try to do
Kameena,
that.
who we're having on later, spends quite a bit of time in Africa and has some things going on in Africa that she wants to talk about too.
Okay,
So
good.
there you go. We're going to be talking about the whole world today. In any case, I wanted to take just a second because we're almost at the time where we're going to shift and go over to Anita Lesko, but I wanted to give you a minute, Joanne, because you've got some really exciting things going on with Autism Works Now. Let's talk about that.
Well, we have a food truck, and it's called Glorious Pies,
Uh-huh.
and we serve pie and coffee. And all the candidates from Autism Works Now will be working on the truck. So what I'm saying, oh, there it is.
I love that
I love that truck.
And who
Exceptional
designed-
Minds.
who-
Exceptional Minds did the artwork, the graphic artwork for us. It's lovely. And the other side of it is completely different. It's crazy.
It's absolutely
It's so
beautiful. And one of the things I love about you, Joanne, is that you put your money where your mouth is, and you walk your talk.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know, Exceptional Minds is a school.
Yeah.
That
post
Yes.
public education, post 12th grade,
right.
and it's for individuals with autism who excel in the animation area. Although the summer programs are for everyone.
Yes.
But these are the kids that are at the program, who, what we did was I said is all I want, and I don't know if Samantha has the other side, but I said is I want the baker who has on the baker's hat and the baker's coat to be a hippopotamus.
Okay.
And it is, and he's so great. And then all the rest of these characters are created
I love
by
this.
these kids.
And these are the same kids. If you guys go to the Marvel movies, we
Yes.
always love to wait for the credits that run in the Marvel movies, and they will say in all the Marvel movies, some of the rotoscoping was done by the individuals
and
at
they do the
Exceptional
tail
Minds.
crawl now.
Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
such good stuff.
Yeah.
Same students, and they made your pie truck.
That's right.
So you're going to be selling pies and coffee.
Pies and coffee. And we've been invited to the Sony lot on May 22nd. The kids, the Autism Works Now candidates, and myself, I'll be on the truck too. And they've asked us to come to, for your consideration, the Emmy party for The Good Doctor.
How much do we love
350 people.
that? We're loving it.
And we'll be serving the mini pies.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
And we just got an invitation from Stephanie's Day.
Lovely.
We'll be going on the Fox lot. So we're really going to be selling pies, number one. We're creating jobs. So what I say is it's a pie truck that's run by and for individuals on the autism spectrum.
And these are real jobs. We need to make sure
Oh.
that people understand this. These are paid jobs for individuals that are on the autism spectrum. What Joanne did was she was training people to be ready for jobs.
That's
She's
right.
continuing to do that, but she said,
I'm creating the jobs.
Let's make some jobs.
Right. And we're with Wells Fargo, and we also have a payroll with them, so they'll be receiving their payroll checks every 2 weeks. I think it's incredible.
It is
they're
incredible.
very excited. They all the candidates had to take, because in California you have to do the food handling.
Yes.
You have to take five of my candidates have already taken the 2-hour course and passed it.
Lovely.
So they're all ready to go. And what we want to do with this pie truck is domestically across the country.
There you go.
So what we want to do is license it. So if you're interested in a license, contact me
There you go. Where should they contact you, and what's the website? they
at
can go?
www.autismworksnow.org or my email, joanne.lara@autismworksnow.org.
Okay. And you also, for people who are interested in the curriculum for Autism Works Now, how you're preparing these individuals for jobs, you've got a book.
We have a book. Susan Osborne, my partner, who's the director of the Autism Works Now program, she and I wrote a book. But what we want to do with this licensing of the truck is Susan and I come in for one day to your organization. We'll deliver the one-day workshop, the Autism Works Now workshop. So get you up to speed on candidates with our book and our handbook and how to move forward with having there's the book, having your candidates work on the pie truck.
There you go.
But we want to have them in Miami and Atlanta and Austin and Chicago and New York and Sacramento, everywhere. And in the smaller communities where we don't have work options for our kids.
Love it. So Glorious Pies, it's a wonderful thing. All right, we are going to take a short break, and then we are going to get Anita Lesko on the Skype to join us. We're going to start out with Anita talking about things that happen in the workplace, bullying that can happen in the workplace. It's important to have jobs, but it's also important to talk about discrimination in jobs and the bullying that happens. And then in a little while, we're going to talk with her and Temple Grandin together about this new book that Anita has that's out today, The Stories I Tell My Friends. It's fabulous. All right, stick with us. We'll be right back after these messages.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
Hi, I decided to start Autism Works Now as a small business because 90% of individuals with autism and related disabilities are not employed after graduating from high school. Our mission at Autism Works Now is to create job opportunities for Spectrum youth and kids through awareness and education.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I was just stunned into silence watching your sizzle reel for Autism
I love
Works
that
Now.
sizzle reel.
I do too. But joining us via Skype right now, somebody else that I love, Anita Lesko is joining us. There's Anita, looking beautiful. I love the cowboy hat.
Hi, Anita.
As always.
It's a big day, Anita. It's World Autism Awareness Day, and it is also the day that you have a new book that is out as of today, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. There it is, Temple Grandin, The Stories I Tell My Friends. It's quite an accomplishment, and like I said, we are going to talk a lot more about that, and we're going to talk with Temple herself in just a few minutes. But Anita, you are an amazing woman in your own right. And for people who've never watched the show before, tell them what it is, what your day job is.
Well, my day job is I put people to sleep in the operating room for surgery, keep them asleep, and wake them up.
And
I'm a certified registered nurse anesthetist that I've been doing for 30 years now.
I needed you to say the A word, the anesthetist, because it's a struggle for me, especially in the morning, and it's still morning on the Pacific Coast here. So you've been working at the top of your field for a really long time, and I think it's very easy for the rest of us to look at you and go, oh, that's all figured out, and life is good. Mm-hmm. But you recently wrote an article in The Mighty that kind of brought all of us to our knees, Anita. For anybody who didn't read it, talk to us about that, what you wrote.
I talked about I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've been in 5 different states. So it's not that it's just been at one hospital, but for all these 30 years, and while I was a student, I've been discriminated against for being different, bullied, and harassed. It's something it still happens to this day. Most recently was the incident of the operating room nurse literally yelling at me, pointing his finger at me and saying, you minorities, you're what's wrong with this country. You people expect us to change to accommodate you. You're what's wrong with this country. And I stood there frozen looking at him in utter disbelief that I actually heard somebody say that, because it wasn't just an attack on me, it was an attack on all autistic people to say something like that. And
I mean, it takes my breath away, I have to say. And Joanne, jump in whenever you want, but I want to start with saying I'm sorry, Anita. I want to say that I'm sorry because I didn't know that was happening, and I'm sorry that is happening on a regular basis to you, and everybody should read the article in The Mighty. If you go to The Mighty and put in Anita Lesko, you'll see some of the different things that Anita has written. And what is the name of this most recent one about workplace bullying? Do you remember, Anita?
Shattering the Silence of Workplace Autism and Workplace Bullying.
There we go. And I was just stunned by some of the insensitivity of some people. You write at one point that, I mean, I know in operating rooms, and we see this on television depicted a lot, where they'll play music, right. Loud music.
Right.
But there have been times, Anita, where they've done it specifically to see if they can get you rattled.
Well, it's kind of an ongoing thing. One of the people, and I work with these people on a regular basis, and they'll make the comment, it'll be like 5:30 in the morning, and they have the big music box over there ready to go, and they'll say, oh, let's put on some heavy metal, and let's all watch Anita's face, and then everybody bursts out laughing. Because they know that's the one thing, because the sound of electric guitars at a really high volume, it actually stimulates my sympathetic nervous system. It actually makes me react physically, not only, I get a raging headache, but physically I start sweating and become physically ill from that. And I've told them this over and over, and they think I'm making it up. They think it's a joke. And the thing is, there's been several other employees with autism come through the particular place I'm at now, which I'm here for 20 years. And they were not anesthetists, but one was a circulating nurse who worked in the operating room, and the other was a scrub tech. And now the nurse, she did not know at the time when she came to work there, she was in her 40s. She did not know she had Asperger's, but she did know that she didn't have any friends, couldn't get along socially, and had one problem after another in the workplace, and would end up either getting fired, or she would quit just when she knew she was going to get fired, and went from job to job as a traveling nurse. And the same thing with the scrub tech person. Well, the scrub tech knew he was autistic, as I later found out, and the circulating nurse, I had heard about her for 3 months. prior to actually getting to work with her. And one day, I would hear these stories. Oh my God, you can't even believe how she is. She's so weird, and she's so, this and that. And I'm like, well, like, be specific. Tell me something. Well, she's just weird. You can't even talk to her or anything. Okay, so finally one day, I'm assigned to work in the same room as her. Well, it took me less than 5 minutes to figure it out. And I had gone up to her at the end of the day, and I asked her, I said, do you know what Asperger's syndrome is? And she said, no. And I said, well, go home and read about it and come back and talk to me in the morning. Well, the next morning she walks up to me, bursts out crying, throws her arms around me, and she said, oh my God, you've answered the question of my life that I couldn't figure out, why am I so different? And now I can't believe that now I know why. Since then, she's actually gotten a full-time job that in one place, and she's not doing the traveling thing anymore after she had gotten diagnosed. But the point what I'm trying to make is, it's not just me that gets this kind of discrimination and bullying, harassment. And so I think of the bigger picture of how high the rate of people on the spectrum who are either underemployed or unemployed. And I know from talking to many people and reading about bullying and discrimination in the workplace is part of the problem. So this is a whole big picture. It's not just about Anita Lesko. It's about the big picture of everybody else who's out there who wants to be employed. And I'm a pretty tough person. I'm the kind of, take the bull by the horns kind of person, but not everybody is like that, and would very easily get run out of a workplace who couldn't handle things that I do, and have come to learn how to deal with it, take it to the appropriate channels. But even when you do that, it still happens.
I guess I want to start with, what can we do? And I want this to be an open discussion, but I so appreciate you saying, Anita, that it's not just about you, but for me, there's at least a part of it that is about you. I am appalled that where is the basic human decency of people? That even if autism weren't a part of the equation, if I'm working with someone and I have any care for them at all, I want them to do a good job and not tear them down. Mm-hmm. And for people in an operating room to be joking about making it harder for you to do your job, it's appalling when they know that you are on the spectrum. But even if they didn't know that, it's appalling in general. But what can we do?
Well, I want to say that I met Anita in 2014. And she had a conference in Pensacola, Florida, which is where she lives. And I remember Anita and I talking about this at length. And I was like, in the beginning, give me their phone number.
Yeah, right.
I want to talk to those people right now.
Yeah.
And what we're learning is we have to go above those people. And what Anita points out in The Mighty is that when she's done that and gone to HR, then it all turns around on her again. And so you have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, so what do we do here?
Yeah.
And it really is, one of it is understanding and embracing diversity and differences, and that has to come through education. So education from an HR point of view, where we're really coming in and teaching the staff, and there should be accountability.
Yes.
I believe there should be accountability for incidents like this, because that is unbelievable that Anita is going in to do her job and she's being treated. But for me, the story in The Mighty, Anita, is about the surgeon. The surgeon who treated her disrespectfully. Here's a professional to another professional. Anita is a professional in the medical field. That's the one that slayed me.
Yeah.
And there needs to be accountability for these individuals.
Anita,
there should be some consequences.
Absolutely. Tell the story so that people who haven't already read the Mighty article can understand what Joanne's talking about.
But one of the surgeons one day, and he knows I have Asperger's, and he knows about the loud music thing. Now, I never have asked anybody to shut the music off. I have never asked that. I've asked him to please turn the volume down so it's just kind of a background thing, but not overriding, even to the point where I can't even hear the heart monitor, the oxygen saturation, and any of the monitors, because the volume of the music is overriding that. Or if I had to communicate with another staff member, I can't just say their name. I would have to physically get up and walk over by them to talk to them because the music is so loud. So when I asked for the volume to be turned down, the particular surgeon, he blurts out, he looks right at me and he says, "I don't care about your blanking Asperger's, that's your blanking problem." And I stood there and I looked at him, and I didn't say a word to him. I just, after the case, I went and then called the hospital hotline and made the complaint about him and said, you can make anonymous complaints, but I said who I was and the whole story. That particular surgeon, they made him go to what they call sensitivity training, and then they never assigned me to work in his room ever again. And he actually wasn't the only surgeon who did that type of a thing to me. But again, I think in the big picture of all autistic people, because I always feel it's an attack on all of us when things like this happen.
Yeah.
Because it could be any other type of a job with any other person and get the same treatment.
And I appreciate you coming forward and saying these things, because I think it's going to eventually help a lot of people to raise this level of awareness, because honestly, I could not have imagined that. I just, when you find that people are that mean and that ignorant, people that, as you were saying, Joanne, a professional at that level, it's shocking to me.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be, but it is shocking to me. But that lights a fire in me, Anita, and I'm sure you lit a fire in a lot of different people. But so we need for these people to get educated. What do you think needs to happen now, Anita?
And I think in all walks of life, all different kind of jobs, there needs to be education in the workplace that comes from the higher ups. Also all the different levels of understanding autism. No, you cannot see it, because I think that's part of the thing. People can't see, they can't see a person in a wheelchair. They don't see you with a white cane. They don't see you, with some kind of a physical disability thing. So they think you make it up. I mean, I've had different bosses say to me, "Oh, how long are you going to string this Asperger thing out?" Or it's all in your head. Well, actually, yeah, it is all in my head. So I, kind of laugh at that in a way. But I can't even. It's unbelievable to me. In a way, sometimes I've come to the point where I look at these people, and I think to myself, they think they're so superior to me because they don't have this, whatever a lot of them call it, disease or whatever they want to call it. And I think, but I'm the one who would never do what they just did to any human being on this earth. So I think it's the other way around, that I'm the better person because I would never, ever do something like that to another human being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just stunning.
And we talked about, Anita and I talked about, remember, Anita, we talked about writing here. It's all in the education. And we kind of have to forget about those old Bowsers in a way. And we have to go back to, you know what? We have to start with the kinder and the first and the elementary school students. And it's the same thing I said about employment. Those individuals who are with our kids, who are with autism in a full inclusion setting or in a special day class in an elementary school setting, those kids are going to be the employers down the road. So we need to target those kids, because once they know kids with disability and kids with autism, they're much more apt to give them the job when they're sitting across the table from them and the resume sitting there. I know you. I have a job for you. We have to go back to the drawing board. So Anita and I were talking about a book that was graphically illustrated by maybe somebody at Exceptional Minds, since we have all those kids that are doing great animation work, and to start to touch on not just I'm different, but really, and I mean, it requires Anita and I really putting our heads together. But really addressing the issues for the kinder, the first, the second, and third graders, so that we're addressing that issue early on, So it's not going to happen when they're 25 and 30.
Yeah.
But, we've got a whole generation that may be lost. Maybe we can't reach those individuals. But their action should be accounted for. There should be consequences in HR and in the workplace for individuals who treat other people disrespectfully.
Yeah. Well, we've seen a lot of discussion because of the Me Too movement. And maybe there's a way that we can piggyback while we're educating people about how you can't say this and you can't touch people and you can't do that. Let's add this other thing into it too. How about that?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, Anita, on behalf of the rest of the world, I want to apologize and say to you that I agree with you. You are a much better person than the people who are saying those things to you. That shows a level of ignorance and right? But I applaud you for sticking in and being the person who's going to do your job no matter what happens. Thank you for being such a wonderful example. We're going to take a short break now, and then I want to come back and talk about, in amongst all this stuff, while all these other things were happening to you, you were writing a book. I read it last night. It's amazing. I can't wait to talk to you about it. But first, we're going to take a short break. So everybody stick with us. We're going to talk about this new book, and then Temple Grandin is going to be joining us in just a little while, too. So stick with us. Yay! Talk to us a little bit about what your degree is in.
City planning or urban planning.
I got it from Cal State Northridge with a degree in cinema and television arts with an emphasis in screenwriting.
And what are you interested in, Eli?
A video game internship.
Computer programming.
I'm hoping to combine entertainment and travel, my two passions.
Ooh, what kind of jobs have you worked?
Bakery inventory.
Okay, inventory.
Want to talk about your volunteer job?
I was going to help the soldiers.
You volunteered to help the soldiers?
Yes. I interned in the national parks in the Santa Monica Mountains, which is very urban area. So I worked with the problems of how it's impacting the surrounding community, like the flow of traffic and the flow of people and what they could do to plan in the parking.
I've been to China. I've been all around Europe. I've been to Thailand, Japan, Australia.
You can create an app? That's impressive. Really cool thing. Can you teach other people how to make an app? If you have a choice between working or not working,
Working.
you like working.
Yes.
Why? What do you like about working?
It is fun.
I would work
Yeah? You would choose work? Why?
because I have get one that get paid and enjoy it, and want to make sure I have enough money so I can save it.
Why do you need to have a full-time job? I mean, it's kind of like a duh thing, right?
Oh, obviously, so I
Yeah.
can support myself
Right.
and hopefully a family down the line, but at least at first, myself.
I'm very dependable and always reliable and get to my job on time.
What excites you about working a job or being an intern?
Learning new skills.
Yeah. What has it meant to you having this job and having the stability of a job that you've had for multiple years?
It's meant the world because I'm able to do almost everything I wanted to do because of that job.
Welcome back to Autism Live in this very special show, World Autism Awareness Day. We have Joanne Lara from Autism Works Now and Autism Movement Therapy. She's here with us in the studio. And via Skype, we have the fabulous Anita Lesko. She's with us as well. And today is a very special day because not only is it World Autism Awareness Day, but it is the day that Anita's new book debuts. So Anita, tell the viewers what this book is and how this was inspired.
Okay, this book, Temple Grandin, the stories I tell my friends. I met Temple back in 2011 on the phone. I got to meet her in person in 2013, And we always stayed in touch and would talk periodically on the phone, just check in, see how you're doing. And of course, we always would talk about working and employment and things like that. And over time, I got to see the side of Temple that I knew that other people never got to see. Her, how silly and hilarious she can be, and hear her when she gets really upset about something. And one day, a year ago, she happened to call me, and I was at work. I had a little time, and we were talking, and she had started on this funny thing, and we both got on a laughing jag, and we're laughing so hard, tears were like coming down my face. So after I got off the phone, and I went back to work, and I thought, I wish the rest of the world could see Temple the way I see her. And I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, they can. What if I write a book about her, all like a personal, kind of like almost like a memoir in a way, but to bring out the essence of Temple the person. So later that afternoon, I called her up, and I said, Temple, what would you think if I wrote a book about you? And she thought it was quite a grand idea. Then I contacted Teresa Corey, who was Temple's liaison with Future Horizons, the publisher, and talked to her about it. And she thought it was a grand idea. And she said, well, there has been a few other books written by other people about her, like a biography style. She said, what if you take it to just more of a different level where you really just get her to talk about like her whole life story, like things that's never been shared before and everything. So, okay, this started the whole snowball thing that turned into an avalanche. And I spent the next several months, probably I guess 6 months, interviewing Temple for a total of about over 60 hours of interviews. I even flew out to Fort Collins, Colorado for her 70th birthday party. That was quite an incredible bash that put on at the university. And met many people there, including Nick Jackson, who was the Hollywood film director who directed the HBO movie Temple Grandin. He's included in the book, quite a lengthy interview with him. And all other people close to Temple, including like her graduate students, everybody who's close to Temple, and interviewed all these people, put the story together. And I did it, I wrote it in like a conversational style, so it's as if I'm talking on the phone with you, telling you all about it, like, hey, you got to hear this about Temple. You won't even believe it. That kind of a way I wrote it, just, like fun. But the true essence of Temple has come out with things that even those close to her were kind of shocked to find out, hey, you never told me that, Temple, they said, which I thought was kind of funny. But I can remember during these interviews, and I have them all on audio recording, and we'd be talking, and then I would ask her something, and then next thing I know, she's crying, and I can hear her crying and sobbing, then I'm crying and sobbing, so these would get pretty intense, these interviews. And then, of course, then there was the fun parts. We would be laughing so hard I'm almost falling out of my chair. So I bring to you, the audience, a book about Temple like nothing you've ever seen. You're going to have a whole different image of her. And it's so much fun. It's so intense and incredible. I can't just say enough about it. Temple is my hero. When you read this and find out all these extra things about it, you thought you knew everything, but you didn't. And I don't want to give away any of the details. You'll have to read the book. But she is just beyond the definition of hero, which is actually, I start out in the first chapter with that she far exceeds the definition of a hero. And once you read all the pages of that book and see everything, you'll have to agree Temple is far more than what people thought she was up until now.
And I gotta say, it's a real page turner. I mean, it's a book that you kind of can't stop yourself.
It's great.
It really is. And what you said, Anita, that it's conversational. I did feel like I felt privileged to sit at a table as I was reading it with you and with Temple, and to hear the conversation between the two of you. I really felt like I was there with the two of you, which I think is brilliant, the way that you did that. And there were times when I actually spoke out loud to the two of you, and I was like, Anita, I want to know about this, or really, is that what happened after that? And I said it out loud. I don't know that I've ever done that, reading a book before. And a couple of times my husband was like, "Are you talking to me?" And I was like, "No, I'm talking to Anita," or "No, I'm talking to Dr. Grandin." And he was like, "Okay, how's that working for you?" But it was that, it feels interactive. It really does. And I really got a sense of your sense of humor and of her sense of humor, because I've said for a long time, the first time that I ever interviewed Temple, had a great interview, and then the cameras went off, and then Temple said things that I was like, wait, the cameras should have been on for that, because she's so amazing. And I've always said, if people could see how she is the rest of the time, and I think you've done that. I think you've captured that, Anita. It was really lovely, and I absolutely found out things that I didn't know about Temple that were dishy and interesting, and I can't wait to talk with her in a couple of minutes about one thing in particular. But I got to ask you, in all of so you told us things that we didn't know about Temple. What's your favorite part of the book? What did you find out about Temple that you didn't expect to?
I think one of the things is what I experienced, and it was when I was in Fort Collins, Colorado, back in August for her birthday. It was after the party, and I sat there during the whole event, which was like a 2-hour event, and that Mick Jackson, the Hollywood producer, had flown in, and many other people, very highly important people in her life and everything, had flown in for this big event. And I watched her interacting with literally a couple hundred people that had come there, and everybody wanted, to get to talk to her, get their picture taken, everything. And I sat on the sidelines, carefully observing everything, and the grand speeches that everyone gave. And after this whole event, we got in Temple's car, and we were going over to Cheryl Miller's house, she's in the book. She's one of Temple's liaison. And I looked at Temple. I had the temptation to snap pictures of sitting in the vehicle with Temple. I thought, okay, how many people get to tool around town with Temple Grandin, but I kind of refrained myself. I thought, okay, that's really a little too cheesy to do that. But I looked at her and I said, Temple, how do you feel after this whole event? And when she looked at me, what she said was so profound. I remember I sat there, and you'll find out in the book what she said. But I sat there and I was frozen in time, like mesmerized that I'm in a vehicle with this great person who just said that, and my hair literally stood up on end, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, I'm like the luckiest person on the earth right now to have experienced hearing that out of her. I will never forget that moment. It just was unbelievable, one of the highlight of my life.
And you go into great detail in that section of the book. And I think that that's one of the treats of it too, is that when you first had talked about this book to me, and one of the things that you said, Anita, was that part of what was going to be fascinating about this, not only would we get to know about Temple, but it was the first time that a book about Temple was written by somebody who was on the autism spectrum. And I remember hearing that and going, oh yeah, that is interesting, but not really, I got to be honest, not really understanding how different that was going to make the book. Because what do I know, But it really did. It made it so much richer. And you do get a view in, which I think a lot of parents are constantly, I know I'm constantly wanting to know, how does my kid's brain work? How does another person with autism, because I want to understand, right? What are the different ways that the brain works? And you really do get to see the world through your eyes, Anita, as you're looking at Temple, and you get to see the world through Temple's eyes. And that was as big of a treat as anything else.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And to hear, and for that section of the book, as you're describing being in Temple's car, was really a highlight. When I spoke to Temple this morning on the phone, and I told her that I read the book last night, and she said, well, first thing was, well, what was your favorite part? And I told her my favorite part was the section about her friend Mark, because I didn't know about Mark. And we don't want to give anything away but I want to go back and reread that like 5 more times. That made me so happy and gave me so much hope. Her friendship with Mark was lovely. Did you already know about Mark?
No, No, I did not know about him.
I feel like
and
Mark
actually,
is this
the-
deep secret.
Well, one of the fascinating things is when people read this book is they're going to see that Temple has so many like long-term friendships throughout her life, like 10, 20, 30 years. For an autistic person who that in itself, I think, might surprise a lot of people. These very close friendships she's still has with all of these people is very profound, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so often people on the spectrum are depicted as being unable to have long-term relationships, which you're the proof and the pudding there,
Mm-hmm.
Anita. You and your fabulous husband. For those of you who missed when they were on Valentine's Day, please give yourself a treat and go watch that interview. Your face will hurt because you will smile so hard. But they also the stereotype is that people on the spectrum are emotionally distant.
Yeah.
Don't have feelings for or about other people. There's no way you could read this book and walk away with that feeling ever, because it's two very emotional women talking about emotional things.
I think, Anita, you need to send it to Simon Baron Cohen.
That would be interesting.
You should definitely send it to him.
I'm sure he would
I
love
will
it.
do that.
And both you and Temple sign it. I love that. You know who he is. He's the one who wrote Mind Blindness, and he came up with a theory of mind, TOM, which we call TOM, where he states that individuals with autism do not have empathy for others. So, got to send him the book.
There you go.
I will.
It'll be an interesting time for him.
Yeah.
All right, we're approaching the time when we need to take a break, and so we can get Dr. Grandin on the phone. It's the thing that we've all been waiting for the two of you to be able to talk about this book together. Mm-hmm. So anything you want to say, though, before Temple joins us about the book? We need to tell people where to find it, right?
Of course, you can find it on Amazon website, Barnes & Noble, Future Horizons website. It's available there as well, and any bookstore.
Okay, fabulous. And so as we go to break, we're going to show, for me, one of the reasons why I got so excited about this book was that I took a car trip with Temple a couple of years ago and tried to find out more about Temple as a person. So we're going to go to break, show you this clip of me and Temple in a car with Kelby in the back seat, giving me directions. And then when we come back, we're going to be joined by Dr. Temple Grandin. So stick with us. I got to do the U-turn around the thing? Okay. So, Kelby, do I want the north entry or the south, or does it matter? Okay. Are we doing curbside bag check? Which way, Kelby? Left? Yeah. Kelby, can I go through the T? Yeah, I have a toll tag.
Then you go through the T.
Okay. What do you do that, like, you could just spend 2 hours doing and have it suck all your time?
Oh, I like to look up interesting research articles on animal behavior. Found a really interesting European papers on how wolves are different than dogs that I read last week that were very, very interesting.
Very cool.
Because I've always talked about a brain can be more social emotional or a brain can be more cognitive.
Yeah.
And the wolf turns out to be more cognitive, and we've bred the dog to be more social emotional.
How fascinating is that?
Very, very interesting. The wolves were very good at watching another wolf solve a problem.
We were talking a little bit about television before, and I cannot believe that what you said to me, what you like to watch on television.
Star Trek. I was a Star Trek fan when I was a teenager. I liked the Star Trek Next Generation. I was watching that when I was working on my PhD in the 80s.
And so
Total Star Trek fan.
What's your favorite series, and what's your favorite character, and what's your favorite
Mr.
episode?
Spock was my favorite character.
Love it. And what's favorite episode? This guy is going to hate me.
There was a lot of good. My favorite Star Trek movie was the one with the whales.
Yes.
Yeah, I really
mine
liked
too.
that Star Trek movie.
And so sad that we lost Leonard Nimoy this year.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that you like to watch television. Do you like to go to the movies too?
Oh yes, I went and saw Gravity. There's certain movies that have to be seen in a theater, like Gravity and Avatar.
Yes.
I wanted to see Inside Out in the theater. I really liked that movie.
What did you think of that?
I liked it. I think about how the emotions interact.
I gotta be honest, I had said after that I thought that it was gonna be a great tool for people to show kids on the autism spectrum about perspective taking.
Yeah.
About what it's like in other people's heads.
Well, no, it's more like how the emotions inside your own head sort of conflict with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love The Wizard of Oz, and I love the idea of the ruby slippers. She had the way back home. She just didn't know she had it.
Yeah.
You see, and I think that's a metaphor for a lot of things. A lot of people have the ruby slippers, but they don't know they have them. They don't know they have the key that can open up the door to a lot of really great stuff.
So what would you say was your ruby slipper?
Well, I had, when some opportunities came up, like when I designed those dip vats, that was a major breakthrough for my business. And when the head of the feed yard came up to me and asked me if I'd do it, I said, give me 3 weeks. You know, a lot of people would have been too scared to walk through the door. Now, this is pre-internet, and I knew it would take me 3 weeks to get some of the information I needed, especially on concrete reinforcement, to design the dip vats.
But you did it.
I did it. I was on the phone the next day to the USDA to get the drawings on the concrete reinforcement.
Wow. So I want to journey back to childhood for just a second and talk about friends, because a lot of times people ask about friends. Who was your best friend?
When I was in elementary school, one of my best friends was a girl named Eleanor. And she was the first girl in elementary school to get to take wood shop instead of cooking. And I was the second girl in our school to get to take wood shop. So we liked to make stuff. It's all about making stuff. And I had good friends in high school. Even though I got bullied and teased, I got friends who shared interests. Riding horses together, doing electronics together, doing model rockets together, doing stuff together with other students.
So you found, like your mom says you found your tribe.
Yeah, and you've got to get them in doing things with other people.
And you did a lot of theater, and did you sing as a kid?
Yeah, I did. One of the problems I was singing is I couldn't synchronize my rhythm with somebody else's rhythm.
Do you still have a hard time doing that?
I still have a hard time doing that.
Because we were going to ask you if you wanted to sing something in the car with us.
Well, I think maybe we'll skip that.
Great question. But the one question people always ask us is they want to know if you've ever been in love.
No, never have.
And you don't feel like you're missing anything.
I've seen so much turmoil in so many marriages that I haven't really seen a situation that would be a good model.
And yet you gave me really good marriage advice.
Because I'm a good problem solver. You have to take the problem and cut it down. And in engineering, you have to find the root cause of a problem.
What do you think is your secret to your success as a teacher?
Well, presenting things really clearly.
Yeah.
That's really important. Making things interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's also important that it's something in a class that a student can take home and use. I teach a class in cattle behavior and handling, and I've got a lot of students that are pre-vet that are going to go in the dog and cat. Probably won't be handling any cattle. But I said, you want to design this corral system because it's visual problem solving. You have to figure out how to do it. It's not a cookbook. And then I have my internet project where they can pick out anything in animal behavior, and I make them dig into a narrow subject that I have to approve, because I want them digging into Google Scholar and PubMed, Science Direct, and the other databases. They got to learn how to find stuff online, and I'm finding about 2/3 of the students are not very good at that. How about this? Make Magazine. This is the kind of thing that a lot of kids on the spectrum need to be doing, the cool stuff in here. Really interesting.
Make Magazine is going to love that you
Make
did that.
Magazine. It's a wonderful magazine. And I'm okay. Yes, and they're resurrecting old satellites from mission control and an abandoned McDonald's. That's the kind of stuff I really like. These are the kind of magazines we need to get into school. Make Magazine, Business Week, Science, Nature, Wired. We got to show kids out there. There's all kinds of super interesting stuff out there. But if they don't see it, then they don't know about it. I like to geek out on construction sites. I like to salivate over all the equipment they've got that we didn't have, like really cool man lifts and nice scaffolding. We didn't have any of that stuff.
You didn't?
No, we didn't.
What did you guys have?
A compass? Horrid ladders that were really dangerous is what we had.
I'm going to pull up right here. We're going to get your stuff out.
Yep. Picking it back up. Oh. We have to get the mic back from you too. Oh, you took it off already. You're good. That's attached to mine.
Welcome back, everybody. It's World Autism Awareness Day, and we have with us in the studio Joanne Lara from Autism Works Now. We have with us on Skype Anita Lesko, and we have with us on the phone the fabulous, the wonderful Dr. Temple Grandin. First of all, Dr. Grandin, welcome back to Autism Live.
It's great to be here.
Thrilled to have you here, and Anita is here too. You guys have a book that is out today, written by Anita. But it's about you. It's Temple Grandin, the stories that I tell my friends. I got to start, Temple, with asking you, why did you choose Anita Lesko to write this book about you?
Well, I think we kind of just took each other. Anita, thought of the idea of doing it, and one thing I really admired Anita for is the fact that came from a very poor background, and she started out working at a skating rink and at concession stands, and now is a very successful nurse anesthetist at the hospital. And she had kind of a work history, sort of like me, doing a lot of different kinds of odd jobs. I was painting signs when I first started. That's how I learned how to do freelance work, and then that morphed on into my cattle work.
Well, and obviously the two of you share a similar sense of humor, because there's so many things in the book that are funny. How did you guys realize that because you guys laugh a lot on the phone, I hear?
Well, we just, got to talking about different things, and maybe, we just liked a lot of the same stuff. And one thing that really interested me was how some of our stuff on our work history was so similar. Anita and I both cleaned horse stalls as a teenager. And she cleaned horse stalls in order to get riding lessons. And when I was cleaning horse stalls and running a horse barn, I was learning how to work, which was really important.
Wow. And so, Anita, I want you to chime in here. This was a fabulous opportunity for you to get to spend time on the phone with Temple. I started asking you before, but I never really got to it. What's the one thing that you found out about Temple that you didn't know before?
Well, there's so many things. I'm going to think about that for a minute. I mean, there's so many things. I think some of her childhood things were the things that surprised me most, that she just was like every other kid doing fun kid things. And I used to envision her walking on the beach when she found the message in the bottle that she was very excited about, and she started writing messages and putting them in bottles and tossing them out into the ocean. I thought that was a really fun thing, just to hear her talking about her childhood days.
Well, I had, my elementary school childhood was really good, and we used to do a lot of stuff on the beach. I'd collect shells, and then we'd make mosaics out of them. Another childhood thing that my sister and I had rock collections when we were young. We used to smash rocks open and see what they looked like inside. But I was so happy when I got the message in the bottle, and then I started, throwing messages out there in bottles, and I would get about half of them back. I thought that was great fun.
It was a fascinating part of the book. I was saying to Anita before that there was one thing in particular that I was shocked by, and I don't know if it's okay for you to talk about it here on the show, but I was fascinated by the exchange that you had with B.F. Skinner.
Skinner. I knew you were going to say that.
So I can talk about that on the show. I was an undergraduate psychology major at the time, and I wrote to Skinner, and he invited me to his office. And it was like going into to see the god of psychology. And I go in, and there's an old professor there, and I had on a dress at that time, and he asked me if I could touch he could touch my legs. And I said, you may look at them, but you may not touch them. And that was the end of that. I remember another thing with him, and I did write about this in my book, Animals in Translation. I said, B.F. Skinner, we need to learn about the brain. He says, we don't need to learn about the brain. We have operant conditioning. Well, I never believed that. And then years later, when Skinner got a stroke, he realized that maybe he did have to look inside the box after all.
How's that for karma? In this year of the woman and this year of the UN General, them saying that it's this year the focus is going to be on women and girls on the autism spectrum, but it's also been the year of Me Too. And to hear you talk about B.F. Skinner, I just have to say, I have to applaud you, Temple, for saying to him, no, you can look, but you cannot touch.
That's
Was
exactly what I told him.
was he
And then
surprised?
I talked to somebody just recently about it that worked with B.F. Skinner years ago, and they said, oh, yeah, that's B.F. That's the kind of stuff he did.
Shocking. But what was his expression when you said that to him, Temple? Was he shocked that you said no?
It totally ended it. And then after that, we went and toured his rat lab, and we got to talking about, research.
Well, I loved how you
did. I was kind of shocked that, that the great BF did that.
And I loved how you talked about how it instantly, you went up to that building thinking that you were going to see somebody larger than life, and it instantly changed him in your mind.
Oh, yeah, he had a giant plant, and that big vine that went all around his office. And he looked just like a regular professor. It was sort of like finding Oz behind the curtain.
There you go. I love that. And Anita, were you shocked to hear this story?
I'm never really shocked when I hear stories about men doing things like that. I found it actually very entertaining. But back then, in that day, he was actually before his time to do something like that. But actually, I was very impressed. Had I been in a situation and the guy said that to me, I probably would have been sort of speechless. I love Temple's comeback. You may look at them, but you may not touch them. I thought that was really slick.
I love that.
Really calmly and quietly and very politely, because I was trained to always be polite.
Well, and you were polite, but you had that firm boundary. I was impressed. I want for all of our young women to hear that. I thought that that was absolutely...
And you know what? It ended it. Now, the situation where this stuff really gets to be a problem, I had a situation in one of my very early freelance jobs where there was a ranch foreman who wanted to have sex with me, and he was slapping me on the butt, and I pushed him off. And then, of course, he goes and tells the boss that the corrals that I designed for him did not work. See, the situation where you absolutely cannot deal with this is when it's a boss. B.F. Skinner was not my boss. He did not do my grades. Whereas the other guy was able to sabotage the project. You see, when it's a boss at work, that is a situation that just absolutely can be career-wrecking.
And so what did you do, Temple?
It was a real problem because he told the rancher, this guy was a foreman on the ranch, that the corrals didn't work. And I almost thought, well, I'm going to just have to give up designing corrals. But thank goodness that wonderful Jim, the contractor who had built the corrals, he was another really important inventor for me. He seeked me out to design corrals for him, and he, supported me and says, no, I want you to keep designing stuff for me, but that was a situation, you see, where it was a boss doing it to me on a job, and that was much more difficult to deal with than the B.F. Skinner thing. B.F. Skinner was not my boss.
Absolutely. Now, Jim figures pretty largely in the book. He's somebody that you knew for a long time and that really you collaborated with a lot.
Well, Jim had seen some of my drawings, and he actually seeked me out. He wanted to get started in designing corrals, and he really helped me get my business started. He was one of the really important mentors out in the industry. I mean, he was a man that really helped me a whole lot. He built my projects, but I also helped him. Now he's doing big, gigantic projects now for the Department of Transportation in Arizona and military bases and all sorts of things. But he was just a little tiny company in a little teeny small office in his house when he started. So we both helped each other.
Well, but you've helped a lot of people, and I love that it's one of the things, Anita, that you featured in the book. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you were impressed with, Anita, ways that Temple has helped others.
Well, one of the things that I found out at the Temple's birthday party was when I learned that Temple pays for her graduate students full entire tuition and enables them to get their PhD in the animal science under her, instruction and tutelage. And I was so shocked at that. There's so many people that I've known in my lifetime, or you read about, that are have the means to do that, and they would never do anything like that. I was just so, Temple wants to continue on this whole the animal handling and everything, the way she teaches it, and wants it to continue on, and that's what's it's so spectacular. When that was very shocking, very thrilling thing for me to hear that when I learned that.
Yeah, Temple, was this a secret? Because I don't think anybody knew this.
No, it's not secret. I'm just not the kind of person to flaunt stuff.
Because you're so spectacular. But you've helped other people along the way.
I've put a lot of students through graduate school.
Amazing. And when I was saying earlier that my favorite part of the book was hearing about your friend Mark, and obviously you did a lot of things to help him along his way.
Well, let me tell you, Mark was a farrier, a horseshoer. He came to me in the early 90s, and he had a theory about the temperament of horses and the hair whorls that are in the middle of horses' heads. And he had observed during horseshoeing that a horse that had high hair whorls, way up high on the forehead, maybe a set of double hair whorls, a lot more flighty. And he had gone to several universities, and they had just turned him down. They thought that was crazy. He came to me, and I said, well, let's work on this, but instead of horses, let's do cattle. They have exactly the same kind of hair whorls. So we did a study. We went out to a feed yard and looked at 1,500 head of cattle, and we ranked them on how much they got agitated in the squeeze chute. And the animals that tended to get agitated when they were held in the squeeze chute had higher hair whorls. And also at that same time, we were doing some of the early first work on cattle temperament. Now, I had a student named Bridget Bloisenet, and Bridget did a study where we found that cattle that are really wild and get agitated when you handle them had lower weight gains. And 20 years ago, that was real radical stuff. Now, everybody's temperament testing cattle. It's not industry practice, but in 1996 and 97, paper was published. That was the real pioneering stuff.
Well, and I found it fascinating that you go on to talk about this study in the book. Anita had included it in the book because it's fascinating. And that one of the things that you both discovered was that if you treated those cattle and those horses slightly differently, that they were better performers.
That's right. See, what you have to do with a horse that's really flighty is you got to make sure you don't traumatize them. You take a horse like an Arab that's very sensitive. If you beat it up, that animal almost, I think, gets a PTSD and it doesn't get over it. You can take an animal that's got a calmer temperament, force it to do something, get away with it. But you take that animal that's a really sensitive, high fear temperament, and you treat it right. Some of those are some of the most intelligent horses. Yes.
Well, and of course, that seemed very familiar to me with the autism community. That maybe a different way of learning, a different approach, but sometimes the intelligence is so much higher. Don't you both agree?
Well, I've talked about autism. What we said it. Autism in the mild forms is just part of normal human variation. A brain can be more thinking, or a brain can be more social, emotional, and there's a certain range that's just going to be, normal variation. And I found a really interesting paper that came out in 2018, where scientists have been looking at genes involved with autism, and they're all brain development genes. And basically, what scientists are learning is that the genes that cause autism and schizophrenia are the same genes that give human beings a very large brain, and that autism is rapid early growth, too much, and schizophrenia is not enough later growth. And it involves the same things. In fact, I recently did some real fancy genomics testing, and I found out exactly why I have a genetic defect, why I have small teeth, I've got thin nails that break off, my skin's a mess. But it actually told me very, very little about the autism genes. There's a whole list of them, and each one contributes a little bit. And that's exactly how brain development genes would work.
It's all so fascinating. I want to encourage people, they need to get this book. I just think it's a lovely book. Obviously you've read the book now, right, Temple?
Oh, absolutely. I got a lot of my NASA pictures in there. I did a fabulous trip to NASA. I got to see a SpaceX launch. I got to sit in the launch director's chair where they did the moon shot. It was a total NASA geek out. Got lots of pictures of me at NASA in the book, in stories I tell my friends. That was so much fun. You know, the thing I learned when I went to NASA, and I've been to NASA also in Houston. And
I was with you
Jet
on that
Propulsion
trip.
Lab, the right stuff rolled the rockets, but the geeks and the nerds and the misfits and the people with mild autism and dyslexia and every other label, they built the stuff.
That's right. That's right. And I wished I thought of it because I have a bunch more pictures of you when we went to Houston together to NASA Temple that I wished I'd given them to Anita because I've got a bunch of pictures, but I'll share those with you, Temple.
Well, we got some really good pictures.
They're
took
wonderful.
at Cape Kennedy, and took a lot of, going to a real launch is so exciting compared to watching it on TV. We got to get kids out doing real things.
I agree.
Yes.
Now you're breaking up just a little bit, Temple, and
Okay,
I wanted.
I've got another book coming out called Calling All Minds. It's about famous inventors and all the things that I made when I was a child, and I'd spent hours and hours tinkering and making things.
I love that. I want to take just a second here because we've had a bunch of people writing in questions. Somebody wrote in and said 2 questions for Temple about how to learn to work and get a job and how to learn to drive a car.
All right, I definitely want to talk about how to learn work and how to drive. I can answer those really easily. You want me to do that right now?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay, driving. It's going to take longer. In order to deal with the problem of the multitasking, the person with autism has to learn the operation of the car before we do any traffic. Driver's ed throws them in way too quickly. I learned to drive on my aunt's ranch where it was 3 miles up to the mailbox, 3 miles back, and by the time I did that all summer, I had done 200 miles of driving. Then we did traffic. So what I recommend is spend 20 minutes a day in a completely safe place, like a giant parking lot, back roads, learning how to operate the car before we do any traffic at all, maybe even before you do driver's ed, because they throw them in way too quickly. That's my main thing on driving. It's going to take longer. And then I'm learning how to work. The kids that are, coming of age now when they're in middle school, they need to be doing volunteer jobs. It's really important to start doing jobs outside the home on a schedule. Now, in some states, you can do regular jobs at 14, others at 16. Let's get 2 real jobs under that belt before they graduate. I would like to get rid of the problems with the transition. I'd like the transition to work done. Because when you look at a lot of older people, I have grandfathers coming up to me all the time, and they're finding out that they're on the spectrum when their grandkid is diagnosed. And granddad had a job all his life because he had a paper route at age 11, and he'd been working the whole time he was in high school.
And I think Joanne would absolutely agree. And so I want to move on to another question here. They want to know what's the best advice for caregivers who have newly diagnosed toddlers in regards to helping with relating and educating their children?
Well, we've got to make sure we start doing some early intervention. And when I was 2 years old and a toddler, my speech teacher did a lot of work on learning how to wait and take turns. Do not wait 2 years for a diagnosis. You've already got a diagnosis. He's not talking and his behavior's not very social and has problems. Teach these kids how to take turns, playing little turn-taking games, board games, maybe with a ball, throwing it back and forth. My speech teacher would speak very slowly to me, start teaching me words, but you've got to start working with this kid now. And the book I'd recommend, my books for that, is The Way I See It. And I'd recommend getting the book now, and you start working on this kid now. If you can get services right away, wonderful. But if you're in a part of the country where services are not available, then you need to get some volunteers from your church group, because the worst thing you can do with a 2-year-old that's not talking is to do nothing. That is the worst. Earlier we work on these kids, the better.
Wonderful. Another person says, Dr. Grandin, any advice for communication and socialization for my 20-year-old autistic son who is verbal but only expresses his needs and wants? And they said, thank you.
Well, the thing about an autistic person is you've got to get out and experience things, because you learn things by comparing it back to previous experience. And when I first did public speaking, I was scared, and I walked out of a class where I was doing public speaking. And you've got to get out and do things. Some of the things that helped me was being party hostess when I was 8 and 9 years old. I had to shake hands with the guests. they've got to get them out doing things. And I had friends who shared interests. You know, for me and for you, Anita, it was horses was one of the big things. Also, I had model rockets as one of my shared interests, and electronics lab. Doing friends who shared interests. Because when I was in high school and I was bullied and teased, those were the places that were refuges away from bullying and teasing. And give the kids some choices. Okay, you could do karate, or you could do robotics, or you could do robotics, or you could do band. Give them some choices. But you basically just got to get them out doing things.
I love that. And it kind of feeds into this next question. Ari says, I have Asperger's and I love wolves and wildlife biology. Is this unhealthy? I think that it's okay. I have a healthy lifestyle and I go outside a lot, but people tell me it's not good.
No, wildlife biology? You can have a career in wildlife biology. There's a lot of people that work in wildlife biology. Might be something you might want to major in college. And what I want to emphasize in college today, do internships. They lead to jobs. So if you go into a wildlife biology department, we have one right here on the CSU campus. You need to be doing an internship every summer in wildlife biology. No, wildlife biology is a career choice that's totally doable.
I agree. Andrew.
And Shanna, I just want to point out everything that you're talking about, the driving, the internship, everything, and jobs. This is all addressed in this book. Also, the stories I tell my friends in Temple's Big Message. And there's a chapter in there we talk about the driving and how Temple learned how to drive. So yes, all these things that we're touching on right now are also covered in this book.
I thank you for pointing that out, and I appreciate that. There's one more question. Andrew wants to know, hi, Dr. Grandin. This is Andrew. I've got a question for you. I'm on the spectrum. Do you think having sensory issues counts as outbursts?
Well, sensory issues are a real issue. I mean, I had problems with sound sensitivity, and one of the ways to help reduce sound sensitivity is you have control over it. Like there was one boy who was afraid of the vacuum cleaner, and when they let him play with it where you could turn it on and off and control it, he finally got to where he could tolerate it better. There's a paper you might want to get. It's called Environmental Enrichment is an Effective Treatment for Autism. You need to type these 3 words into Google. Autism, environmental enrichment. And what you do in this paper is you stimulate 2 different senses at the same time, and you constantly vary the 2 senses that you stimulate. Now, I want to tell you an interesting thing on sensory about astronauts. There was the astronaut that spent a year on the space station, and when he got back, he had sensory sensitivity of his skin, with his clothes rubbing on his skin, really similar to someone with autism. Now, he didn't say autism, but what he described in an interview, he said it was a burning sensation. You see, and that's because his skin had no input, like his clothes didn't hardly touch him when he was in weightlessness of space. And it went away after a couple of months when he got back home. When he got back home, he jumped into the pool with his clothes on. He had sensory issues, but they were caused by a lack of tactile sensory input while he was in the space station in weightlessness.
It's fascinating.
So I think sensory issues for me is the number one top thing that needs to be researched in autism. Big number one area that needs to be researched: treatments for sensory problems. They range from being a nuisance to being very debilitating.
Well, and Anita, you can chime in and talk about sensory issues too, because you have sensory issues.
Yes.
And it's part of what has led to you being discriminated against in your job. Don't you agree?
Yes, of course, the loud heavy metal music, yes, being played in the operating room. Yes.
But you are completely able to do your job at the top of your game, and if people were just respectful, these sensory issues wouldn't prevent you from doing your job.
Right, I mean, it doesn't prevent me from doing my job, it just physically makes me ill, so by the time I leave at the end of the day, I have a raging headache and feel sick all over and totally exhausted, because that kind of massive sensory overload for 12 hours just really wears a person down.
Absolutely.
But I still do my job, but I'm the one who has to suffer for that.
And it's very tiring.
Exactly.
You see, I still have problems with, if I'm in a noisy restaurant, I can tolerate it, but the problem is I'm basically functionally deaf. I can't screen out the restaurant background noise. if I want to have serious conversations with people in the restaurant, I'd prefer a quieter one.
Absolutely. We had one more comment from Maya who says, Dr. Grandin, this is Maya, who emailed you the other day about Stephen Hawking. And she goes on to say, it looks like that she won't be able to see you in Athens, but she's wanting to know if you have anything planned in Atlanta anytime soon.
Well, I have to look at the schedule. I think I got this blessing of going to Atlanta, but I have to look at the schedule. As of remembering right now, in the close future, I don't remember anything in Atlanta coming up right away.
Had you ever had the opportunity to meet Stephen Hawking?
No, I never met Stephen Hawking. After he died, I looked up a whole lot of things about him, and there were some very interesting things that Stephen Hawking said. One of the things he said is since he couldn't move, this was in The Economist really recently, couldn't move and couldn't write, he had to use geometry to do all his mathematics in 10. I thought was really interesting, and he used Penrose mathematics. I actually looked some of it up online, and it's pure pattern thinking.
Fascinating gentleman. And Maya further went on to say, Temple, I'm discovering a childhood obsession, which is from Roger Rabbit, the movie, and I want to start a collection. And she says, what are some other ways to work with this obsession? Because she's thinking of starting a collection, but what's another way she could work with that obsession?
Well, if you're good at drawing, you could go into animation. Is one of the things that you could do. It kind of depends. If you wanted to teach, you could teach filmmaking to kids, teach kids animation. Now, when I was a young kid, all I wanted to draw was horse heads. And my mother always encouraged me to draw lots of different things. Take that obsession and broaden it out. Learn about how the Roger Rabbit movies were made. That was one of the very first movies where you had animation and live people action together in the same scene. That was something that was very new thing when that movie came out.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I know that we need to let you go. We've reached the time that because you've got a lot of things going on at school today. And but I want to thank you, Temple, for all that you do. I want to thank you for taking the time today and for all those hours with Anita. We're going to keep Anita with us as we move to the next segment. But I want to encourage people to get the book. The book is fabulous. It's Dr. Temple Grandin, the stories.
You know, I can stay a few more minutes.
Oh, okay.
Unless you want to just go on to the next segment.
Well,
I need to leave at 1:45 to get to my class.
Well, we'll keep you as long as we can keep you, Temple.
I can stay on a little bit longer, but I need to leave
to the global.
at 1:45 my time to walk over to the 1 o'clock class.
Joanne has something that she wants to pose.
I thought it would be interesting, Temple, to speak to the mission for the UN today for autism awareness is women and children. And as we know globally, that doesn't look the same as it looks here. Women are discriminated against educationally, employment-wise, and also there's more violence with women with autism globally. And you travel globally as well. Would you like to speak to that?
Well, I think I'll leave that to somebody else to speak about. I'm not doing any global traveling right now.
Okay.
Well, I've got some cattle stuff I'm working on.
But obviously, these are important issues.
No, they're important issues, and they're absolutely important issues. But the problem is, I can only work on so many issues.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
the other thing is, I am a professor of animal science at Colorado State in the animal science department, and I think it's also important that I still continue to do my actual real career.
Yes.
Autism is a very important part of my life, but it's not my only life. And I had another big thing I thought about when I went to the Cape Kennedy. I had a chance to visit the Mars launch platform. And there were some people working on that had Tourette's. And as I walked under the American flag saying, where it said the future starts here, I thought, what would you rather be, Mr. Tourette's or Mr. Mars launch platform? I think I'd rather be Mr. Launchpad. And autism is an extremely important part of who I am. But my career is one of my main identities. And in reading some materials about Stephen Hawking last night, he talked about the importance of career. Now, he was also very active as an activist, especially later in his life.
Absolutely.
But career was what gave Stephen Hawking's life meaning.
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit. But I noticed that one of the things that you talked about in the book that you feel really good about is that when you started out in your career, you were one woman with all those other men, but that you have actually helped other women have a career in the same field. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, somebody has to be the pioneer, and being a woman was a much bigger issue for me than the autism was. The being a woman, and one of the things is I was rather kind of forceful, and I would sort of push my way into things. There's a scene in the HBO movie where I walk up to the editor of the Farmer Ranchman magazine and I get his card. That scene actually happened. Yeah. And I recognized that if I could start writing articles for the Farm magazine, that would open up a lot of doors. I had to have the guts to walk up and get that card, and the movie showed it really well.
And I think that's one of the things that you and Anita have in common, is that both of you are, it seems to me, neither one of you will take no for an answer. Anita, do you want to speak to?
Anita, you were going to drive that Zamboni no matter what. And you ended up getting to run the searchlights and drive the Zamboni.
That's right.
I can relate to that.
Yes, exactly.
And these are just some of the things, you guys, that they talk about in the book. I love picturing you driving a Zamboni, Anita, and I agree with Dr. Grandin. There's no way that was not going to happen. But you both have had to push and push and push, and hear the word no, and then find another way in.
Well, one of the things that motivated me to, I've written one column for the Farmer Ranchman, basically on my master's thesis that I did on squeeze chutes. And then after I got kicked out of the Scottsdale feed yard, and they actually did put bull testicles on my vehicle, I then went back to the Farmer Ranchman and suggested that I write a column. So that was my revenge for getting thrown out of Scottsdale feed yard, was to write for the magazine and get a press pass. And I recognized the value of that press pass because it got me into meetings with very expensive registration fees for free.
And where do you think the both of you learned this kind of tenacity? Did you get it from the other women in your lives?
Well, my mother was a bit of a rebel, and she had a lot of tenacity. My grandfather was the co-inventor of the autopilot for airplanes. We used to talk about science all the time, and the other thing that helped me was being that party hostess when I was really little. I learned how to walk up to strange people and just shake hands with them and talk to them.
I love it. Anita, where do you think you got your tenacity?
It's just something that kind of evolved along the way. Being that I came from a poor family, and everything that I wanted to do, I had to really just work really hard and fight for it. And just, I wasn't about to take no for an answer for anything, and just would forge ahead. And if I couldn't get in one way, I just figure out another way. Just like Temple with that, find your way in the back door. That's how it had to work for me. And that's the only way. If you want to really do something, you just have to keep on going.
Yeah.
You see, my revenge for getting kicked out of Scottsdale feed yard was to become a columnist. And then I remember when I went to cover my first Arizona cattle feeders meeting, they wanted to throw me out. And then I proved to them that when I covered the Arizona cattle feeders meeting, I did it accurately, and I didn't misquote anybody. And I got a reputation as a very good reporter who always quoted everybody accurately. And then people began to respect that. Then the other thing I did to sell jobs is I pull my drawings out and show them to people. And they'd look at my drawings and go, oh, you may be weird, you drew that? I'd show them pictures of jobs I had designed. Again, selling my work rather than selling myself. I'd go in to interview a client, I just laid the drawings out on the table.
Well, and you talk in the book about how the difference between a man and a woman going for a job. And that a man can be at 60%. What percent does a woman have to be at to do the same job?
Some of it came out of Carol Sandburg's lead in. A lot of women are too chicken to take a job unless they're at the 90%. Most guys will take a job at the 60%. When I took that dip vat job, I was at the 60% level. And I said, give me 3 weeks, because this is pre-internet. So I had to get drawings on how to do these concrete reinforcement stuff. And I got on the phone the next day and I got the drawings. I went all over Arizona looking at different dip vats. But I've also seen a guy, when working professionally, who was at the 20% level, and he had such a big ego that he didn't bother to learn, and he wrecked a meatpacking plant. Wrecked it. It had to close. I was actually on that project. I was just horrified.
And he got to keep his job, is that correct?
Well, he actually ended up eventually switching to another very good job after he basically didn't put enough wastewater treatment into a meatpacking plant, and they were told by all the other engineers that he didn't have enough wastewater treatment. He went ahead with it anyway, and the city shut him down.
Yeah, and if a woman had done that, I think the outcome might have been different.
It would have been the end of a woman's career.
Yes.
If a woman had done that. I mean, I watched another plant. I was on another project where a guy wrecked a refrigeration system because he didn't listen to anybody.
Wow. Well,
And this was just, I call them the plant wreckers. You know, it's just pure ego. Now, I was at the 60% level, but I scrambled and very quickly got myself up to the 90% level. I went to every dip vat in Arizona, and I got the drawings that show how to do the concrete reinforcement because I knew somebody in Washington, D.C. to call that worked for the USDA, and he sent me a book that had the drawings. And I got a hold of other places to get other information. That's why I said give me 3 weeks, because I knew I had to get information together to do that project.
Well, it's always fascinating to hear the tales that you tell, which is one of the reasons why people should get this book, because you're going to hear things that you've never heard anyplace else, and it's just delightful. And not only that, you'll get to know Anita Lesko. So we want to encourage people. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it in all the major booksellers, and you can get it at Future Horizons. They have a great website where you can get all of Temple's books there. We want to thank Future Horizons for all that they do. Temple, I know you got to get over to your class, and we got to get on to our next segment, but it is always a pleasure to have you with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm going to run off to class, and I hope I didn't fade in and out too much.
Not too much at all. And thank you so much for being with us. And Anita, you're going to stay with us, right?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to take a short break. We're running behind, but we want to get Matt Asner and Navah Paskowitz Asner in here. We've got a lot to talk about, and we're going to talk just with them with a few more minutes with Anita, so stick with us.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Johansson, and this is My Little House.
My Little House is an interactive, multi-sensory educational felt toy that I invented to help develop children's language skills.
I love My Little House.
I've been working as a speech therapist for over 20 years. I have spent my entire career working with young children. I work with children with language delays, and I have many children with significant cognitive disabilities and children on the autism spectrum. It has been a constant challenge finding toys that are fun, educational, and actually engage my students. In every preschool, since I've been a young therapist, we carry on these felt boards. Kids love them because they're soft and they're fluffy, and there's usually these little pieces that attach to these boards because felt sticks onto felt. You bring them into the activity because they're putting a piece on the board. So it's almost kind of like magic. So then I just thought, wouldn't it be great if I could just take this one-dimensional board and make it into an actual three-dimensional toy? How cool would that be?
That's the idea behind My Little House. You can spread it out flat like a 4-panel felt board, or here's the cool part. In the blink of an eye, My Little House easily converts into a 3-dimensional reversible house.
This is the outside. This is the inside.
My Little House comes with 36 felt cutout pieces that match outlines in 8 colorful rooms. And they're felt, so they stick. Each piece inside My Little House has been placed with purpose.
For instance, in the kitchen, whole, half, under, on top, inside, big, bigger, and biggest, empty and full, circle, triangle, inside, outside.
Really cool thing, I have a nonprofit, Lesko. They are the folks that put out the Differently Able Guide for Toys R Us. They've been doing it for 25 years. They gave me their seal of approval as a toy that they feel is a toy with purpose, and that will make a difference. But My Little House isn't just for kids on the spectrum or with significant disorders. It's also for typically developing 2 to 5-year-olds. It's a fun toy.
Oh, this is so soft. That piece goes.
Recently, I took My Little House to the American Speech and Hearing Association convention in Philadelphia, and the response from my peers was overwhelming. Hundreds of therapists, teachers, and heads of school districts wanted to order them.
It was real validation for me that this truly is a toy that needs to get out there.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod. I'm a proud autism mom, I'm a former educator, and I am the host of Autism Live. And as all three of those things, I want to recommend to you My Little House. This is one of the smartest toys I have ever seen for teaching language to kids who have emerging language. Whether they're on the autism spectrum or completely neurotypical, it's a great, fun, reinforcing toy, but it's especially great for our kids that are on the autism spectrum because it makes learning fun and it makes it tactile. They have these felt shapes and they get to match them up. And I'm telling you, even the adults love to play with this. We loved this toy so much that we wanted to be able to bring it to you at a great discount. So right now, if you will go to www.smartfelttoys, and when you get to the coupon code, put in a-live.com, you'll get $5 off. Isn't that great? So I want to encourage you, go and get My Little House for all the kiddos in your life. Welcome back. This is so exciting. We have so many people. It's like juggling kittens here.
It's like a big party.
It is a big party. So I right here next to me, I've got Joanne Lara from Autism Works Now and Autism Movement Therapy, and she's co-chairing this special edition of Autism Live on World Autism Awareness Day. We're welcoming to the studio Matt Asner from the Autism Society of America, and of course the beautiful Navah Paskowitz Asner from the.
Wait, you didn't call me beautiful.
Well,
I
don't
know about that.
It's the year of the woman, so yeah,
I
know it's hard.
I saw the segment before, and
yes,
it is the year of the
woman.
I love what she
woman.
said about that. It's so true.
Isn't it
Yeah.
amazing? And so, but I want to finish saying that Navah is, we're thrilled that she's going to be here with us today talking about the Ed Asner Family Center. Very exciting. And then via Skype, we still have with us, and I'm very excited to have her with us, Anita Lesko, who is a wonderful advocate and an author. She's got a book out today, Temple Grandin, The Stories I Tell My Friends, that Anita wrote. And we had it all planned out, and we were just gonna move on. And she said, no, I wanna be on with Matt and Navah because everyone would like to be on with Matt and Navah. But I wanna start, you guys only have met each other briefly. I think she came
in
and
Milwaukee.
did a panel.
We were in Milwaukee together.
And so
I've heard of Anita. I know of Anita.
well,
but,
everybody has heard of Anita
yeah.
because she's a rock star.
She is.
And Love and Autism. I had seen the story with her wedding, and it was amazing.
Which is kind of a parallel to you guys. So if I was going to talk to somebody in the autism community about love, I would either go to Anita and Abraham, or I would go to the two of you.
There we go.
So something that you have in common. But Anita, I wanted to have you start with talking a little bit about ASA and being on a panel with ASA and what that was like.
Oh, that was a very, very wonderful experience. Back that last year in Milwaukee, I enjoyed that very much, and I had the opportunity. That's where I met Navah and Matt during that time when I was there. Now, the question that I have is, I've been asked, because I'm a very vocal autism advocate, and I've been asked to write a piece to address mothers who make the statement, well, I love my child, but I hate their autism. And I happened to come across a Facebook thread where I think there was over 700 all negative, because I actually took the time to start reading down all of them, of all these moms expressing their disdain for quote, putting up with their autistic children and what a nightmare it is and everything. And Navah, I was very struck by her last year in Milwaukee. She was on the first opening panel of parents at the ASA conference, and when she talked, I started to cry because she sounded like my mother talking. And my mom is gone 5 years now. I still can't believe that, and I still miss her every day and think of her many times during the day. When I heard Navah talk, and it sounded just like Mom, I was so taken by that, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. And she put a post out yesterday, put a post on Facebook with a beautiful, beautiful picture of her and her son, Eddie. and how she feels about him and how she totally accepts him. And I want to ask her, explain to me, because I'm having a difficult time writing this piece that I have to. How do I tell all these moms who simply seem to hate the autism of their child? How am I supposed to tell them? Because I'm not a mom of an autistic child,
Right.
and my mom isn't here to ask her to put it into words. I need some advice from you to tell me, how do I even address that, to write something to
It's
like
I
want
think
them all to know you.
I think, Anita, first and foremost, a person can never know what another person is dealing with on a daily basis. When I am positive, you're catching me on a positive day. Now, I will say I've never, and I can't fathom using the words hate and Edwin in the same sentence. I can't personally fathom those two things. But there are people who have burdens that are burdens I can't even comprehend. And to those people, I would never say anything negative about what they're saying. I think it's our job as human beings, though, to bring positivity and light and hope to families. That's all I've ever wanted to do my entire life. And I think what you could say is start out by being, by just listening. I think we all need to listen more and be less critical of each other. Everyone wants to be right, and that's not helping anyone. And
I'll just interject something.
I knew you would.
No, I think everyone is right. I mean, I think
everyone is right, and everyone has their own experience that we as parents have to uplift and inspire each other and not bring each other down. It's such a waste of life and time. And I cried when you were talking about your mama, because you heard my story of sitting in the parking lot and crying every day. I'd leave Eddie because I knew it was the right thing, but I just wanted to keep him under my shirt for the rest of his life. And I knew I couldn't do that. I wanted Eddie to be Anita Lesko one day. I wanted Eddie to be, an Alex Plank or a Temple or somebody who I knew he could be, but a really connected, loving mommy, it's very difficult to let go. And I totally understood what you were talking about when you described your mom to me. But going back to your question, I would just really try to get everyone to support each other and just say, hey guys, let's stop bringing each other down. Let's empower each other and stop being negative. I think it's crazy to judge anybody. I also think when they say I hate my child, I think very few of them actually mean that. It's a passion talk, and they're frustrated, they're tired. If I go 2 days without sleep from my husband snoring or whatever it is, 2 days without sleep, I'm grouchy all the time and short-tempered. And so imagine that impacted into weeks or months of lack of sleep. I can't even fathom.
Matt, do you need a sleep study?
I don't think so. I had one. I'm fine.
Sorry,
I've been snoring lately because I've got a cold, but
I still love you. Even
thank you.
And there's that love we were all talking about.
No, I'll just add that I think this is, the world we're in, the community we're in, is a minefield. It really is. And when we talk about autism and our experiences with autism, we're all talking about our own experiences, no one else's, because we only know our own experiences. I mean, we can talk about other people's experiences, but we really don't know what they're feeling and what they're going through. And I think that's why I say everyone's right. If someone's having a hard time, they're right. They're having a hard time. If someone, I always think there's hope. You know that. I've always said there's hope. There's always hope. But, it's hard for some people. And I think I think that has to be acknowledged, just as, you know, the beauty of some situations have to be acknowledged, and it's complex. It's really complex, and
if I could just jump in and say, though, I think that we all need to acknowledge that words are powerful.
Yeah.
And that sometimes people say words that I think that you're right, Navah, when people are saying that, I don't think they mean it, but they don't have other words. And if I could just add one thing, that when I hear a parent saying that they, you know, I don't even want to say it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they'll say, well, I love my child, as you were saying, Anita, but I hate the autism. And I talk to them about how important it is to choose your words wisely. And that often even that isn't right. That isn't what they really mean.
Yeah.
And I'll go over what the diagnosis is, which isn't the thing that they're upset about. Sometimes they're upset about the fact that their child can't do something or doesn't understand what they're saying, and try to pare it down to what is it you're really upset about, and then let's make an action plan about what can we do about it. But you got to be careful the words that you choose. I have said wrong words to my son, and I am so lucky that my son has. I haven't said that because I can't imagine saying that, right? Like you.
No, I couldn't.
But there have been other things that I've said to my son. Alex Plank, perfect example. He will sometimes say, I'll say something and he'll go, okay, wait, that's ableist right there. And then I go, oh my gosh, you're right. I have to own that and go, I need to change my stinking thinking. So, you know, but the thinking becomes what we do, right? And all of it comes from what we say. So relanguaging it, I think, is the first step.
Well, and we're all going to make mistakes.
Yes.
Exactly.
But I do think you're right. I think that, you know, in terms of social media and posting things, I think we all need to kind of think about things when we post things and comment on things.
And take each other a little less seriously.
Yeah.
Really.
There's that too.
But I think, I mean, just the parents that I've dealt with in my support groups and the one-on-one sessions, I think autism parents are a little more defensive than the average parent. And I think it's from years of just having to fight for our rights and always being on, almost on, it's a Yiddish word, shpilkas, you know, like you never know when your kid's gonna blow.
Right.
Or you go to a restaurant and you're you know, is this guy gonna say something, you know, critical about my baby? And you have that defensive kind of shield on all the time. So when somebody says something, even if it's, you know, you just feel like you have to justify it, and it just starts the whole Megillah. It's just like a political rant, you know, these nonsense political rants. It's just, in my opinion, continues the negative, negativity breeds negativity, I think, in general.
Well, Anita, I know that you have to get a dog to the vet. I have time constraints with Anita, but it has been such a pleasure having you with us here today. We want to remind people to get your book, and that it's available on Amazon, Future Horizon, and in all major booksellers.
I'd love you to come speak at the center too, Anita, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. I'd love that.
I would love that. I would love it. I mean, Temple said she wanted to come and work with Joanne on some of the adult vocational and job training. She wanted to do a workshop on that, but I would love you to come out and speak about your book.
I would love that.
But thank you for being with us, Anita.
Thank you, Anita.
It's been such a pleasure.
Always great, Anita.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and talk about the Ed Asner Family Center.
Finally,
so
we can
with
talk
us.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you do if your child was hurting?
If your family's future was uncertain.
If help seemed out of reach.
Have you been given no hope?
Taka means I am not alone in this.
This is the reality for families affected by autism. And today, the number of children with autism is growing more rapidly than ever. Taka unites these families and ensures that they do not have to fight this battle alone.
Our oldest son, Jared, who has autism, when we first took him to the doctor to get the diagnosis, You know, it's so sad because they offer you nothing. There's no help, there's no hope. One of the things that you learn with autism is being very grateful for even the small milestones. You know, when you first get the diagnosis, you go through all the range of emotions. You know, this can't be happening. Why is this happening? You have to get to a point where it's the emotion that has to be leading is, what can I do? The first thing that struck me was walking to a room and seeing, oh my gosh, we're not alone. And there is this very strong community that's already set. And something I still today associate with TACA the most is hope. To me, that's what TACA means. TACA means hope.
It's like you've got all these dreams and goals of what your son's going to do, and you get your diagnosis and you're sent home. And that's it. There's no plan of action. There's no, here's autism, here's what we're going to do to make your life better and help him. It's strictly go home and try to process it and go on the internet. It was devastating, and you just, you know, you go through this 3-week of depression and then you snap out of it. You have to. And then you start making phone calls and trying to figure out what is autism and what are we going to do. And then we found TACA, and it was life-changing.
Autism, there really is no definitive answer. It is trying to find the resources that are out there that can assist you to help your child so that, you know, you just don't feel so helpless at those particular moments.
There was direction, and there was hope, and there was a little ray of sunshine that he's going to be okay, and we're going to be okay. I always look back and think we would never be where we are. Carson wouldn't be where he is at without TACA.
So 13 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and that put our whole family into a tailspin. There were so many different ideas and things that were not proven. Nobody knew what guidance to give us. We had no direction. And then we found TACA. They helped give us a path to follow, help give our son a better future and make him healthy and put him back onto the road of recovery. When your son's first diagnosed, the first thing you hope for is, gosh, I just want my son to speak. I just want to be able to communicate with him in some way. Then you want a little more. You want him to go to a regular school. Then you want him to potentially have a real life and go to college. So you're always hoping for the future of your child. My son is a happy, healthy, vibrant young boy that's going to turn 15 really soon, and we couldn't be more pleased. And without TACA, I don't think we'd be in the place that we are today. We believe the future is not defined for many affected by autism. There is hope and direction for these kids and their families. TACA is dedicated to providing community, support, education, and hope to families affected by autism.
At TACA?
At TACA.
At TACA,
We are families with autism helping.
Helping.
Helping families.
helping families with autism.
Hi, my name is Matt. I am 19 years old, and I was diagnosed with autism when I was 6 years old. Autism is one of the fastest growing developmental disabilities in the United States, but I am living proof that with the right treatment, hope is possible. My future is not limited. Today, I am attending Fullerton Community College, and I run for the cross-country team for fun with my friends. It makes me feel proud when I think about my progress. Chances are you know someone affected by autism. Show them they are not alone, and help others get on the road to recovery. Contribute to Talk About Curing Autism today.
Welcome back. We are here live in the studio in this special edition of Autism Live on World Autism Awareness Day. In the studio, I have Joanne Lara sitting next to me from Autism Works Now, Autism Movement Therapy. To her left, we have Navah Asner from the Ed Asner Family Center, which we're excited that, because for a while this has been in the works, but not something we could talk about. But not to be left out, Matt Asner sitting next to her from Autism Society of America.
Thank you.
So it's quite the panel that we have have here. And this segment, we want to talk about this announcement. You guys put out a press release. This is happening in June.
Well, God willing is what I always say. But it's something that I've been working on for many years with Ed, my father-in-law, the wonderful Ed Asner. And Ed has a son with autism, a grown son, my nephew Charlie. And he said to me when I was working at the Chabad and I was doing support groups for families, and I just felt like the next step was to do something of our own. And he said, you know, for me, I'm not going to help you. And he said that in his gruff voice. He said, I'm not going to be a part of this unless you do some element of job training and vocational.
And the arts.
And that, yes, the arts. But for Ed, that was his prime motivation, was to have a place where we could take care of the entire family, but also focus on the thing that mattered so much to him, was that Charlie couldn't get a job. So, and I brought my expertise of support groups and finding families and reaching out and being a mentor to a lot of special needs families. My passion really was getting low or no cost mental health support for special needs families, not just autism. It was imperative to me that because Matt and I come from a autism background and we're so delved into the autism community, that I don't leave out this huge population of my personal friends and families who are struggling and need support just as much as we do.
Yeah.
So the next step for me was getting my experts in place, and the first person I thought of was Joanne and Lara.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of anyone more experienced, more qualified, and I really had no experience in adult services and vocational services. But I also wanted dance. I mean, dance was a huge part of my children's life, and so there was music and art and dance, and how do we put this all together? And so for us, I don't like to do anything half-assed. I can't say, can I say that?
Yeah,
you just did.
Okay, I said it. Sorry, I have 8 brothers, that's my excuse.
That's okay.
And so really for me personally, it's been getting the best parts of the community that are already existing, that we all take our children to, we know, we love, we trust, under one roof. So we've had Joanne come in and AMT and my mind just went totally blank. Spectrum Laboratory and the Miracle Project and Elaine Hall. But also I've had my friend and mental health supporter for 7 years, Krissa Assad. And Krissa, you met Krissa, she came in, and she's incredible with autism in particular, but she's incredible with teenagers. And
she's MFT.
Yes, but she also runs specific workshops for different things that we felt were really missing in the community, like girls-only sexual awareness class. We thought that was incredibly important.
We were just talking about that.
Especially in the world of Facebook Messenger and all these things where the kids are doing things, and they really are. I mean, I thank God every day I have a boy with autism, and it's a horrible thing to say, but these innocent, some of them emotionally, 6 years old with full-grown women bodies, and so these classes that were on our list, these are all parent-driven classes. So we have parents who have been polled, and I've been taking these surveys from parents for years now. What are your #1 priorities? So for them, my parents, getting the ability to have support groups within each category. So a mom support group, a dad support group, typical siblings, grandparents, and an individual, for each individual diagnosis eventually. We're going to start out mixing everyone together, and I think one mom and one dad can support each other, whether they have a child on the spectrum or a son or daughter with cerebral palsy.
Right.
You know.
And so, for people who have no idea and didn't read the press release, you're going to create a place, and the flagship is going to be here in Los Angeles.
We've narrowed it down to a few spaces. It's really difficult because I want Joanne to have the most beautiful dance studio and space, and I want Spec Lab to be able to soundproof their room, and Garth was like in tears, almost like, I can have the drums again. But I also need all of those office spaces for support groups and one-on-one sessions and stuff. So we really are, and we welcome, support from people. We can't do what we are doing without donations and without support. And I've made it my goal that we're going to be open by June. We want to have a mini summer camp by this summer. So we live in the Valley, and the Valley would be our first choice. But we are, we're looking everywhere, and we.
Okay. But you're creating a place where families can go, and the whole family can be supported.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's going to be a one-stop shop.
Right.
So you walk into the center, and a mom can take a yoga or mindfulness class. The dad can go and our dad support groups are very specific. I know that dads aren't going to sit around and talk about their feelings. So
they're not going to do the vision board and do
no. So I definitely, I might even throw a pool table in there. I want
baby steps.
I want
Right.
the dads
Baby
to feel
steps.
comfortable. It might be that they're going out of the building and going for a walk or a hike or whatever. But the main thing is you have a one-stop shop, and at the same time that the parents are doing something uplifting spiritually, mentally, physically, the children and the teens and the adults are doing the same thing. They're either doing an enrichment or doing job training, and we're going to have, and I'll let Joanne talk a little more about our actual within the center job site mentoring program. But it's the most important part to me, and we'd like to be open 6 days a week. We're going to be closed on Friday. I think the most important thing is that you have a place where it's going to be a community, and I want to have these communities in every major city in the nation, because I think the main motivator for me was the feeling of being all alone. I was going through a divorce. I was a single mom. I needed mental health support. I was having anxiety attacks 24 hours a day, and I couldn't afford to see somebody. Yeah. So for me, my fundraising is solely for being able to offer mental health support and at low or no cost. That's my biggest motivator, and I can't do that without fundraising support.
Right. So big effort for people to support.
Yes.
Where can they go to find out more information and maybe
our website, www.asnerfamilycenter.org. Okay. That's the best place to go.
Okay. And Joanne is here, and you're a big piece of this.
For the adult piece. I also wanted to add, for the mental health, it just dawned on me while you're speaking what would be so great. We have so many, 4 out of 5 families with moderate to severe individuals with autism are separated or divorced. And those 2 individuals need so much guidance that's not out there for them. They're either on one team over here or another team over there, but nobody counsels them together about their child. And so they end up taking all their issues to their friends. And if we could...
And that's, again, going back to what Anita said, we have these 2 opposing teams rather than... And I think it goes back to supporting the entirety of the family. You're supporting these kids, and the whole entirety of the foundation is falling apart. So one of the things we'd like to bring in also is having a law center within the center, and having family law support and pooled trusts and things that families with special needs, they need different kind of family law support. And when you go into battle, which we have it's a totally different animal, and you're dealing with a judge who he's not versed on these things. So I think that's an important factor in our center, is to be able to support the parents in every avenue of their life.
Yeah.
And you were saying the other day that, and I agree with you, there's a lot that needs to happen when a child reaches transition age legally. Maybe, maybe not, but
absolutely.
But that people need help with.
At 18, age of majority, that's right. We have to decide what if they are going to
happen?
have
What's going to happen?
their own determination of their own rights,
Yeah.
or if someone's going to come in and help. Now they can have, well, legally we know they can have certain areas that they have manifestation over, and others over maybe education and monetary.
But it's complicated.
But it's very complicated, and you need an attorney or advocate for you, or someone that can help you sort it all out. That's for sure.
Some of the smartest people in the world have looked at me and in complete horror and said, "I have no idea what to do."
Really?
And oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yes.
And everyone needs help.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Navah, we had a question for you from Stella. She says, I love, all in caps, the one-stop shop for the whole family. Can you
Thanks,
mentor
Stella.
other cities and communities?
Absolutely. I mean, our goal is to put this model in every major hub in the nation. And I've already had interest from different cities of people saying, let us help you. I will help you create it if we can do it here. So that's really why I have this tight team, is I want to be able to. Joanne is already doing that with her certification program, by the way. So your part is easier. But I think the main thing is just getting. And I have had so many wonderful MFTs and everyone in every field come to me and say, how can we just do a mitzvah? How can we donate our time? So I think if in each community, that's going to be the key, is having the community go out and find their facility, even if it's in a church or a temple, to get some donated space. And unless somebody, unless Elon Musk wants to donate $5 million to me, I'll take that. $5 billion, I guess it would take to get it. But I'm totally open to that.
Which would be awesome.
Yeah.
Which would be awesome. And that's not what,
Yeah.
I mean, if
That's
not him,
the
somebody
bummer.
else, I mean, there are people out there.
No,
who
but
could
I mean,
write
the
check.
thing is that we want, our goal is just to help as many families as we can. And I think this is the one missing element. It was definitely the missing element for me, and from what I'm hearing from other parents, it's the missing element for a lot of families that feel that they are just getting by with their heads down on the treadmill. They're surviving, but they're not thriving. And I want people to thrive. I want people to find joy in their lives. Even the ones that say, they hate their life and they hate autism. Maybe they just need to find something that inspires them. And maybe the moms need to have, something every day that they look forward to.
It gets people out of the house, which is really important.
Well,
and with like mind.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. I mean, you and I both have said a million times that our lives didn't change until we found a friend who just, I had so much support in the beginning, but I know so many families that feel completely all alone in that bubble.
Well, and I've thought this was a great idea from the first minute that
we've been
you
talking about this for years.
I've been in your court saying this is great. When my child was little, a friend said to me, and he was just about to be diagnosed, and my whole life seemed to be getting smaller, even just having a child. And a friend said to me, "Oh, you need to go to the local YMCA." Because that's where you're going to find all the things that you want, and there's childcare, and there's all. And I had this expectation of what it was going to be. We were there, I think, 14 days before they said that my son wasn't welcome. He was 3. He wasn't even 3. He was 2.5, and that he was no longer welcome because they found out that he had gotten an autism diagnosis. And so we were effectively kicked out of the YMCA. And I've always thought how come for the neurotypical kids there was this place where they could go and they could take classes, and there were classes the parents could take? Why was there nothing for us? So I have always said this is brilliant, and I thank you for moving it forward.
Thank you.
I know it hasn't been easy, but I know you're going to get it done.
I think that I couldn't have done this without my father-in-law. I couldn't have done this without Matt and the community who really have been incredibly supportive.
Well,
and
when the stars align, you know you're doing something
Yes,
right?
yes,
All right.
Or what I say is when you ask the universe, she answers.
Yeah.
Ah, I like
Oh,
that
God.
too. That's wonderful. All right, we have to take a break, and then we want to come back and talk about AutFest,
Yes.
because Mr. Asner has some stuff that he has to announce as well. All right, so stick with us.
Are those your eyes? Is that your smile? I've been looking at you forever, yet I never saw you before. Are these your hands?
As a celebrity, whatever that means, you want to do what you can to get back. The way I've always looked at it, if I'm available, I'm going to be there. And when you get there and you see what folks are doing and the lives that they're touching, how can you not want to continue to be a part of it?
And for the first time, I am looking in your eyes.
What can we all do to make a difference? Not only with trying to find a cure, but to help the children and the families that may not have the resources for these kids.
When you're looking back at me, now I understand what.
And none of us are doing enough, but I think that we're doing as much as we possibly can. Because we all live in a society, and the more we can all do to help society, the more it helps all of us.
And for the first time, I am looking in your eyes. And for the first time, I'm seeing who you are. I can't believe how much I see when you're looking back at me. Now I understand what love is. Love is. For the first time.
A lot of adults don't really believe kids. They'll think, kids are kids, what are they talking about? But when a child stands up for what they believe in, it's so strong and powerful. I first got involved with autism advocacy 4 years ago when my friend was diagnosed. When I found out about my friend's diagnosis, I didn't really understand what it meant. But it didn't matter to me or change our friendship. I didn't look at her any differently. We still had so much fun together. Now I know that she experiences life a little differently than me, and that's okay. Knowing what she goes through has helped me to understand and be more caring towards other people in similar situations. I got involved with ACT Today because I wanted to do whatever I could to help. They provide options like behavioral therapy, medical care, social skills programs, assistance to military families, and much more. Being there for my friend was my #1 priority. I've been volunteering and spreading the word about the cause via my social media platform because raising awareness is a crucial first step. There needs to be more kids and teens involved to make sure that our voices are heard just as loudly as the adults. You may be small like me, but your acts of kindness are not.
Hey, I'm Candace Cameron Bray.
Tom Bergeron.
You're watching Autism Live. And you're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
You're watching Autism Live.
Here we are. Welcome back. I am here still live in the studio, this extended special version of Autism Live on World Autism Awareness Day. I'm here with Matt Asner from Autism Society of America.
Yes.
And Navah Paskowitz Asner has stayed in too. Joanne has gone away for just a little while, but she'll be back later. So Mr. Asner, you got a big event coming up at the end of this month.
We do.
The second annual AutFest.
Yes, April 28th and 29th at the Writers Guild Theater.
Which is beautiful.
Gorgeous theater. Really excited. One of the things that I'm really excited about, and we had a wonderful donation from AMC Theaters last year of their theater in Orange. And you know, we had the Oddfest, first year of Oddfest was in the city of Orange.
Yeah.
And we had an amazing time. We had Ben Affleck received the Visionary Award, and Pixar was there receiving a Visionary Award as well. And, you know, it's this year, I think we kind of just made the decision that we wanted to do a little closer to home in LA. So the Writers Guild, actually SAG helped us, you know, kind of nail down the Writers Guild.
That's awesome.
And it was great. It was
Good on
great.
SAG.
Really excited. SAG is actually a sponsor. So
How wonderful is
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Good on SAG. We're
yeah,
happy to see
definitely good on SAG.
that. Good on SAG. And so we've heard some smattering of rumors about which films, but are you ready to nail that down and tell us what we can expect?
Well, I can give you an exclusive. Yeah,
Oh,
I think
all right.
I can do that. We haven't put out the press release yet, but you know,
Where's the drum roll?
mainstream media will wait a day or so.
All
to
right.
get this, and
All right.
So you heard it here first.
Okay.
So basically, we're honoring. Well, this news is out. We're honoring the Good Doctor and Atypical
Which is
for
lovely.
the incredible work that they've done in terms of autism acceptance and awareness throughout the year. Really, I mean, it's incredible that there are two shows that have really a central theme of autism, and they're both hits. It's incredible.
Yes.
It's an incredible thing. We're also honoring Sony. We're honoring Sony and their television department specifically for the amazing work they've done, because Sony is actually the producer of Atypical and The Good Doctor.
We sense a theme.
Well, there's a theme, and,
Yeah.
and not only that, we're having a feature there, and this is new news.
Okay.
Roman J. Israel will be playing there.
Wow.
And that is a Sony film.
Wow.
So if you look at that, just look at that. That's it. Just look at that. That you have
Good on Sony.
You have The Good Doctor, you have Atypical,
Yeah.
and you have Roman J. Israel, all done by Sony. So this studio is obviously saying, you know, this is an important area that we really need to include in what we're talking about.
Love it.
And that's what they're doing. They're including it in what they're talking
Absolutely.
about.
Worthy of recognition.
Absolutely. Then we have, this is kind of exciting, we have the Power Rangers.
I love that.
Because, you know, he is the first, you know, autistic superhero, really. I mean, the Blue Power Rangers. So we're gonna have a panel with some of the cast, and I believe the director is going to be there on Saturday morning, I believe. Then we're gonna have we have Dina, which is an amazing film. Keep the Change, which is a new film that's kind of making the circuit now.
Yes.
And we're getting like a week after their play at Lemley here. Fun on Saturday night. We're going to have a film called Barfy, which is, you know, it's a funny name.
Yeah.
But I actually, you know, wanted to show a Bollywood film because
Okay.
I love that kind of energy.
Yes.
You know, and so I did some research and found that
But it's such a sweet,
It's incredibly
sensitive
beautiful
love
film.
story.
I've seen it,
It's
so
a
I'm
very
excited to see it.
much
So
of a
on
love
Saturday
story.
night we'll have Barfy,
Okay.
which is an amazing love story that deals with autism,
Mhm.
and after that we'll have a love panel, panel about love and
Love.
autism. We have the movie Please Stand By,
Which
with
love.
the director and some castmates, and Elaine Hall I think will be on the panel. We have Atypical and The Good Doctor, and then we have this incredible group of shorts that including two from Spec Labs.
Lovely.
Big Mouth and The Girl Inside, which are two really fun videos.
I haven't seen The Girl Inside, but Big Mouth is
Big
one of
Mouth
the funniest things
it's
I've
great.
ever seen.
It's great.
I know, it
And
really
if
is.
you haven't seen it, you have to come on April 28th, and that's when the shorts are playing, and see this, because it's really incredible.
Yes.
Then we have The Girl Inside, which is also incredible.
Okay, I'm sure. Everything they do is
A
amazing.
film called Sisterly, which is about sister
Okay.
and sisters, one with autism, one without, and their experience together. It's really a very special movie. Pursuit of Justice, which is an interesting film about autism. Circumstantial, which is a drama, short drama
Okay.
about autism. Air, which is a drama or kind of a dramedy
All right.
from the Great Britain, and then The Odd One In.
Wow, a lot.
And
films.
My Grown-Up Family in Autism, which is actually a really interesting film. This woman from the BBC did a film on her family, on this family, and it's like 8 children, all with autism,
Wow.
in one family. And so they did this documentary when all the kids were really little, and now it's 15. I think it's 15 years later, and they're going back and they're talking to the kids, and it's amazing.
Wow.
It's really interesting. It's a really interesting film.
Is there a way that you can see the schedules of the movies?
The schedules will be available probably this week sometime.
Okay.
Once we announce, and tickets are now available.
Okay.
So the important thing about tickets is you can buy tickets for individual films,
right,
or you can buy an entire pass for the entire festival, or you can buy just a pass for the reception where we're going to give the awards out, where we'll have some of the cast of Good Doctor and Atypical, and the executives from Sony will be getting their award, and all the directors and actors from the films that we have will be getting their awards too, the ones that win.
Okay, so it's a Saturday and a Sunday.
This is a competition festival.
Right.
So when you go into the theater, you'll be getting a piece of paper and you'll be voting on whatever film you see.
Ah, okay.
So who knows who'll win.
All right. So it's a Saturday and a Sunday, and you can go all day and sit and watch. You can get a pass for just Saturday or for the whole weekend or just Sunday. And then after each screening, there's a panel of some sort on some topic.
Not after each screening, but after most screenings.
Okay.
So there's a strategic, we did that strategically, so just so we didn't go off the grid in terms of time.
Right.
So some of the films have there's one there's one love panel screening, but there's a couple of films dealing with love.
Right.
So we have one screening. It'll be the main Saturday night panel about love after the film Barfi.
Okay.
So,
one of the things I noticed last year was that there was just a lot going on, and there were so many things to see and do. Some of the panels last year, you guys did a live stream. Are you going to do that again?
Yes.
Okay.
When it's okay.
Okay, so not always, but sometimes.
But we'll try and do that. And so if you're sitting at home, or if you're in another city, check the schedule, because we'll probably be going live at some point.
Okay.
Because that's important, and I want people to see what happens there. And Anita, when we were talking with Anita earlier,
yes,
we were talking about something. This is why we do Autfest. We do Autfest because we all have this singular vision of what autism is.
Yeah.
And it's so important for us as a community and as a world to understand what the other person is going through. And at Autfest, you get to look at 15, 16 films and see different windows into the world of these people who are, some of them struggling, some of them not, but they're each having their own experience. And their feelings about it, are their right, and they are correct in feeling however they feel. And we should not strive to change the way anyone feels. We should strive to understand how they feel. And I think if people come out of a theater after seeing 16 films about autism and the way people are dealing with autism, if they come out of the theater with a little deeper understanding about what our brothers and sisters are going through, then I think we're making the world a better place.
I think it's important also that you bring your friends who aren't affected by
Absolutely.
autism, because I think that's the whole point of awareness, is
and this is
getting people who don't understand what some of these families are going through, and have that kind of world inclusion and changing people's attitudes on what autism is. And it's so different. Each movie and each story is so different.
And what I love about this is they're not, these are movies.
Yeah.
They're movies that you'll pay, to go see, at your local AMC theater on a Friday night or Saturday day, and you're gonna go see these films in the theater, and they just happen to have some element of autism, or have an autistic character, or are directed by someone with autism. And that's something that we just need to celebrate.
Absolutely. And I think, too, another part of it, and it ties right in with the question that just came in, is that by including these films, it creates more exposure for those films.
100%.
So Courtney had written in and said, Matt, are you having swim team? And of course you're not having swim team because you had swim team
Swim team was last year.
One of my favorites. Isn't that great?
And I know Courtney is a huge fan of swim team and all things swim team.
Courtney Reeve.
And so.
And I believe, I hope I'm right about this. I think that Swim Team won Best Documentary last year.
Yeah, I think
I believe
it did.
that they did.
I think you're right.
And I also want to point out that being at Autfest helped Swim Team to get on more screens
Right.
in more places. And so it was helpful to that film, to get on POV,
Right.
on
Right.
PBS.
And also all the, we met so many kids who are on the spectrum who were inspired and just said, hey, this gives me the idea that I can make a movie. I can be a part of this. I want to be, in Autfest. And there were little kids. Remember that 10-year-old who was saying, I'm going to be I'm going to have a movie out here one day. And it was very, it was very wonderful.
And it's interesting because we talk about, I hear parents and people on the spectrum all the time talk about, why don't they hire more actors with autism to play these parts with autism? And I think we're going, and the thing about Autfest is I want to celebrate people that are autistic that are working.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're playing, anyone. I mean,
Yes.
my feeling is that an actor with autism is an actor.
Right.
It's not an actor with autism, it's an actor.
Thank you.
And that person should be playing whatever part they can read.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in the book that says that if you're playing a character, and if you have autism and you're playing a character, that person has to have autism.
Right.
That's the beauty of that job.
I absolutely love that. And I have to say, I'm impressed with how diverse your films are. Women are on the spectrum are really well represented.
They are,
And
yeah.
several of the things that you have actors that are on the autism spectrum in them.
Yes.
Several of them. Not just one, not just two, several.
Yes.
So, because, I know that people like to pile on and go, well, you didn't have this, but I think you've got it all there, Matt.
You know what? We'll have people say that.
Perfecting it every year.
We'll have people say that, and that's all right. I think that's the great thing about this is, how amazing. Let's just talk about that for a second.
Okay.
How amazing is it that here we are, we're sitting here in 2018. How amazing is it that we have 16 films that we can talk about and that people can still argue over what we didn't include? How great is that?
You're
That we
right.
live in an
That's
era
really good.
where people are that,
Yes.
it's that much of a part of who we are.
And you know what I always say to people, if you're not seeing the story that you want told, maybe it's you that needs to tell the story.
Exactly.
So get right
that.
on that.
I agree with that.
Anyway, I think that this is remarkable. So where do they go for more information?
Thank you. They go to autfestasa.com.
Okay.
And they can buy tickets there. They can look at what's happening and who we're honoring, and it's all happening. So
And there'll
autfestasa.com.
be yummy things sold as well.
let me just talk about that for
the
one
yummy
second.
things. You forgot about
So
the yummy
I
things.
did. So
How could you forget about food?
we're gonna have
No, it's
popcorn.
really
We're
yummy
gonna have
stuff.
popcorn and stuff like that. But we're also gonna have different organizations that are out there right now trying to employ people in the food services area. And Joanne's organization is going to be there serving their pie. Michael's Learning Place is going to be there. They have a bakery, and so they're going to bring baked goods in. And then I think we'll have one or two others that I haven't kind of really talked to specifically yet, but there's one or two others on my list that I'm going to try and get in. But I think it's important that we highlight that and that we show people
And
what's going on in the community.
support the people that are supporting
And,
us.
and allow them to be able to stand up and show what they're doing. So
You guys are killing it. You're
Thank
doing
you.
so many good things. I can't wait. We're excited to be there, and I think I can say, I think I've been given permission to say, we'll be there. Hopefully we're going to be live. I have to get permission from you to do
no,
that.
you don't have to get permission.
You'll
be live on the
just
red
the
carpet.
carpet,
I
right?
welcome that. I welcome that.
But one of the people that we're going to have as a correspondent there who's going to be doing interviews is Kobe Bird. And the fabulous Kobe Bird, an actor on the autism spectrum, an actor of great renown this last
From
year.
The Good
So-
Doctor.
From The Good Doctor, but from other things, he was also on Speechless.
Yeah.
And,
I saw him on the Pally Center panel. They
Wasn't
pointed
that
him
awesome?
out. That was really nice.
I was
that guy's going to be on the panel, by the way, the handsome Hispanic guy.
Oh, Nicholas
Oh, I
Gonzalez.
shouldn't call him handsome.
No, it's all right.
In any case, we are thrilled that he's going to be there with a covering for Autism Live, and so that's really cool. And there will be so many people. I will tell people, if you come, if you're at the event, you will get to meet people that you wouldn't normally get to meet. Last year, our fans went crazy because Becky G was on the red carpet with us, and her fans and our fans went absolutely nuts. She's one of the Power Rangers. And so, and she's got a brother who's on the autism spectrum.
But I think there's going to be a lot of special guests that would not have been able to come to Orange County.
Right.
And we are literally right there, Writers Guild. There's going to be a lot of people that you want to meet coming that weekend. And it's just a really fun weekend.
You should go.
You should go.
Weekend.
You should be there. We'll be there.
Hotfestasa.com.
That's right.
Get your tickets now.
I appreciate you guys so much for coming and spending time with us on World Autism Awareness Day. You know that I love the two of you as well. We're not done with the show. We're already into our third hour here, but we're not done. We have one more guest, a marathon. But we still have Kameena Ballard-Dawkins is going to be on the show with her daughter, and Joanne Lara is going to come back and join us as well. But we're going to say goodbye to you guys and give our love to your big family. And did you say Happy Passover?
Happy Passover.
Happy Passover.
Hag Sameach.
Hag Sameach.
Hag, just means holiday in Hebrew. So it could be Hag, could be any holiday. But Hag Sameach is what you normally say.
I think I said it wrong, though.
That's perfect.
You can also say Hog Easter.
Oh my!
I think that's way
I
too
apologize.
confusing.
Too much.
All right, but in any way, it was a big weekend, and today is Cesar Chavez Day.
Yeah.
So lots of things to commemorate.
The kids don't go back to school till tomorrow.
That's right. That's right. Lots
I'm
going on.
you saw stuff go into my head right there, and
it's late.
I'm not going to say it on the air.
Okay, all right. We are going to take a break, and Matt can say whatever it is that he wants to say, and then we're going to be back with Joanne, Lara, Kameena Ballard-Dawkins, and her daughter, Keena. So stick with us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hey, welcome back to Autism Live. We heard you. Everybody wants
macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, but we're gonna make it allergy free. But here's what's the crazy part of this macaroni and cheese. It's actually healthy.
And it tastes good.
Yeah, it tastes really good.
That's the most important part.
So we're gonna start. We got our water boiling. There's so many variations on the pasta. We're using today a corn pasta. We can verify with the manufacturer that we have a GMO-free product. So let's go ahead and put that in there.
Ooh,
and if you don't mind, stir that up for me, my friend.
Now it's sticking a little bit to the bottom.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
We maybe add a little more high heat oil and spread that around again. One thing you gotta know about gluten-free pasta, if you overcook this, it becomes mush. Let's move this guy over to the other burner so you can see what I'm doing. And now we're gonna start with the old macaroni and cheese sauce. What's great is there's a lot of choices for, different soups. And the way that I look at soups, and again, please follow the recipe on your screen right now. I don't like to measure very often. But what I like to use is a creamy butternut squash soup. So this soup is great because it adds a lot of flavor to the dish, but also gives people another serving of vegetables. With kids, we don't want to over season. Maybe with the adults, we can season some for the kids first, pull it out, serve them, and then add a little more, garlic powder or onion powder or other types of things into your dish. So the next most important thing on this recipe is we're going to add in a thickener and the faux cheese. Now some people like their sauce really thick, so you just add in more cornstarch or more arrowroot, so that's not a big deal. How's that doing? You think it's ready?
I think it's done.
Okay, so why don't we switch? I'll take that, you do that.
Okay.
And I'm going to strain this bad boy here. Here, let me turn that off.
Okay.
Or we're going to cause trouble again.
Trouble in Lisa's kitchen.
Yeah, no!
That's another show.
Don't, yeah, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get this all strained. It's a good consistency. So I'm going to check to make sure our pasta is cooked. So really you just want to make sure, just like any pasta, it's a little bit squeezy, a little bit. Nice. Dude, good job. We're good.
Looks yummy.
So, even though the cheese is not totally melted, it's okay. Don't panic. What's important is that you're going to love this recipe once you eat it. What I enjoy most about this recipe is that it smells good, but this stuff is amazing. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to serve you some up, and you can maybe blow a little bit on it so you don't burn your mouth. Sorry, I'm once a mom, always a mom.
Just like we tell our kids.
I know, right?
Oh, I can't wait. I'm excited.
So I'm going to give a shot of this too, but
oh my gosh, that is so good.
This is the ultimate comfort food. So
oh, it's so
isn't
good.
it good?
And I'm not just saying that. It is really good. It literally tastes like something our kids would really like, and that sweetness is really, really, really good.
So the bonus for us is that when we're serving this to our kids, they're actually getting a full serving of vegetables in this. So instead of just eating a bunch of carbs and worthless calories, you're actually getting some good stuff in this. And we'll be back next time. I hope you join us again here on Autism Live. We're really loving the feedback, and if you have additional feedback, here's how you get it to us. You can send it to us via email at autismlive@gmail.com. On Facebook, facebook.com/autismlive. And also there's thousands of recipes waiting for you to discover them with pictures and different things on the TACA website. So you can hit TACA on the web, tacanow.org, and we'll be back. Hopefully we'll get to do this again.
I had so much fun.
Maybe we'll have a little wine, but you got to join us next time. We'll look forward to seeing you then.
Bye guys, we're gonna keep eating.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
When Maddie was diagnosed, I'll be honest, I was very ignorant on what autism was. I knew that autism was basically something that hit boys at the age of 2 to 3 and shut down. And with Maddie, she was doing all the same signs and symptoms of a typical child with autism spectrum disorder.
Stand up.
I was thinking that we might be moving somewhere so that people could assist us either in the house or us going to see our daughter, because she was shutting down to a point that she wouldn't even recognize you being there by putting your hand in her face and yelling her name.
She didn't even acknowledge us coming into the room. She had barely any eye contact. She didn't interact with her sisters. She didn't really do anything. She just basically lined up her toys, and that was about it. With 8 volunteers, including my husband and I'm the team leader, and so I do all the curriculum and get everything ready each week.
Jana was downstairs until 11 o'clock at night working on curriculum, going through 2 different textbooks.
Look, who's that?
And then we, as a group, meet on Monday nights, and we would go through what the curriculum was from Jana. And a lot of times we would go, well, how exactly do you do that? How do you sit her at the table and do this trial base? With what Skills has done for us, it's taken that away from Jana trying to figure out the curriculum for one. She can go down, or even our laptop, and she can sit down, and through all these questions, it comes up with the different programs.
At least for me, it was a relief off my shoulders. I was worried that I might be missing a curriculum that maybe she needs to know, where Skills, they have every possible thing your child needs to know from 0 to 7. They have a program for that.
What noise is this?
Good job.
Every program that we did with her, I knew it was specific for what she needed to learn. Because before Skills, it was a lot of, okay, well, is that really age appropriate for a 2-year-old? You know, because it's not generalized. It's anywhere from 0 to 7. This is what your child needs to know in most manuals you'll find. But for this, okay, yep, she should be learning this. And no, she's not 4 yet. She doesn't need to know that yet.
We are so fortunate that Jana was able to attend a conference put on by CARD that opened the door for Skills, and that there's no looking back for us.
We started using the program in November, and it seemed like by January something just clicked, and she has completely kind of came out of her fog that she was in for quite a while.
I have never read a documented case on any child that has not benefited anything from applied behavior analysis, and now with this new skills and being, like the E version of ABA, I can't imagine it doing anything harmful to their child. It's nothing but exponential growth for us.
To see her now, it just blows us away. I mean, we call her our little miracle child because in 7 months' time, she's just blossomed into this normal, functioning child.
She is developing roundly. She is socializing. She's playing with her peers. She's learning from her peers. It's very joyous.
Maddie, can you tell me what you see outside? Snow. Snow?
If you're even thinking about doing it, do it. Because the absolute worst thing you can do is do nothing at all. And even if you use this program and it's just a single mom or a single dad working in the evenings with their child, this program is going to benefit them. It's going to show you where they are, it's going to show you where they need to go, and it's going to show you what skills and how to get there. It is an online book on how to help recover your child.
Welcome back to Autism Live on this very special edition, World Autism Awareness Day, and it's like a marathon. We just keep going. Joanne and I are going to fall asleep eventually or pass out from hunger, but we're keeping on. And we're ending today with two fabulous women. We have Kameena Ballard-Dawkins with us, and we have her daughter, Keena, who's with us. And this is your first time on the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Your mom's been here before, but
yeah.
I'm happy to finally get to meet you, though, and thrilled that you're here with us. We, and I should say, too, Joanne is back. Joanne Lara from Autism Works Now and Autism Movement Therapy. And recently, Joanne did an article for Autism Asperger Digest.
Which is Future Horizons.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, this is Temple. Temple's our lead columnist, and I'm a columnist.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And tell us what the article was that you did.
Are African American children being served the same as their counterpart?
And I think, Kameena, we all knew that the answer to it was no, right? But I was educated, though, by how deeply it is that they're not being served. Were there things that, I know that you were part of the article and featured in the article and worked with Joanne on shedding some light on this, but were there even things that you were shocked at, or was this pretty much you knew?
I pretty much knew it. I mean, honestly, first of all, I love Joanne because from the second I met her, I knew she was doing great work.
Yeah.
And we met again on the show, and when we reconnected and she asked me about it, it was like, this is my life. So it wasn't that hard for me to put into words or in writing, so to speak, about just disparities in general. And although there are disparities within a non-African American community, whereas rural populations and things of that nature, but African Americans, any multi-ethnicities are really, I don't want to say underserved, I want to say not served in a certain community. The late diagnosis, even my daughter here was diagnosed really, really late at age 4, and I had to fight 2 years for that diagnosis. Yeah. And so she's really a disparity within a disparity, being an African American female, because of course females are disparities as well. So getting back to the article, when it came time to write that, it really was just like another one of those moments that was surreal for me to really open up to other families and let them know sincerely what I had been going through and what I've been going through from the beginning, so that we can draw attention to that and help get the children that are diagnosed after my daughter some help. Yes. And not just a diagnosis, but lead them into interventions. Because that's also the other thing. She didn't get any interventions whatsoever until she was 8.
Wow.
So for her to, and I'll let her tell her story, but to then be faced with residential at such a young age of 10, why is that? And could that have been prevented?
Yeah.
And the answer to all of that is yes.
Okay, so we'd love to hear from you, Keena. So you're how old again?
15.
And beautiful. You are a beautiful young woman.
Well, thank you very much.
And it's so thrilling to have you here. And so, what age were you diagnosed with autism?
I think I remember 4.
4, okay. But Mom was saying you didn't get any support and services until 8.
Yeah, it was a very hard time.
And I'm curious as to it is, as you said, it's been hard. It's not been easy for you or for your mom. What do you think has been the hardest?
Well, kind of this not going and doing a lot of things, and kind of where I'm at now. I think I'm very proud of myself for getting to where I'm at.
Because you're doing great things now.
Mm-hmm.
But so at what age did you stop living at home?
I believe 10.
And talk to us a little bit about that. Was that hard?
Yeah, it wasn't easy because, you know, sometimes you get a little emotional or scared and you just can't figure out what's going wrong. You know, you think it's yourself, baby. It's not going to be yourself. Sometimes you just have to figure it out for yourself sometimes, though.
Yeah.
But there's always help around the way, like mom and other people.
And you and your mom are really close, is that correct?
Yes.
And are you still not living at home?
Yes, but I come home for a lot of visits.
And there's probably a lot of parents that are watching that are trying to decide if their kids should stay at home for a period of time or go live someplace else. And they'd really love to hear from you. Even though it was hard for you going and living someplace else, do you think that it's been better because you went someplace else?
Somewhat.
And when you look at the future, do you think it's better for you to stay where you are, or do you want to spend more time at home?
Spend more time spend more time at home.
It's a mouthful. It's a hard.
Yes.
It's a hard thing to say. And do you and your mom talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you guys have a plan on how you can spend more time at home?
It's not yet like completely together, but we're getting it together each step of the way.
And this has been hard for you.
It's definitely been hard, and you know, I'm very proud in this moment that she's actually even speaking, because to take her from not having any services and no interventions and then going to residential to being able to speak for herself and being a self-proclaimed self-advocate, which is why she's here.
Yeah.
She's my greatest accomplishment yet. You know what I mean? I'm really proud. Even though the story is sad, I really feel like just her presence can help other people to decide whether they need to take their child to residential, because she's learned a lot of skills that she might not have learned if she was at home with me, if she didn't have that intense service to make up for that lost time.
Yeah.
And it is hard. And for me, I want people to see that a collaboration. You know, I have been told this, I did not throw my child away. I in no way gave up on her. I in no way said, okay, she's in residential, forget it, let me go live my life. It was like, this was something that I felt like needed to be addressed. And although it's a hard thing, parents shouldn't feel ashamed. They're making a sacrifice to do the best that they can for their child and for their child's needs, because she can be an independent adult now. And she's learning, what are you learning? Job services?
Job skills, like how to talk better and not to like figure out a way to deal with my anger and not to like run away or scream and appropriate boundaries, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I gotta say, it's working, because you're a very articulate 15-year-old. I mean, much more than your average 15-year-old. So
we're just saying that. See, she said the same thing I said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, you're very well spoken, and you know, I think that's tough for anybody. We have people who come in here who are professionals, and they get in front of the camera and they get a little, nervous and whatever. You're doing great.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta take deep breaths and like relax.
Yeah.
Just let go, try to be yourself.
I would ask, do they teach you mindfulness? What do you do, learn how to calm yourself?
I learned how to meditate. And
yeah,
not
that's
eat
what
so much, as my mom say.
Yes, that was wonderful for you, right?
Yeah, somewhat, not the eating part though, but yeah.
We were trying to change her diet.
Oh, so when you figure that out, would you tell me, because I have some of the same issues as you can probably see. No, if you get it figured out, you let me know, because I'm trying to figure it out too.
Okay.
So very good. And what I'm curious, you know, because you are such a self-possessed young woman, and this, as we read this morning, the UN has declared this the year of the women and girls on the spectrum. This is your year. What is it you want to do? Are there things that you're really passionate about, or what are you really interested in at school?
Art. I'm really into art, and
you can show your bracelet.
Oh well, this is the bracelet that I made a few days ago.
Oh my gosh,
Isn't
it's
it beautiful?
That's stunning.
Right. Yeah, and it has a little bit of purpose to be the blue. White represents autism, you know, and I have 2 hearts on each side.
I love this.
And this one represents me, and this one represents my mom, and then on the other side, this one represents my cousin. This represents my auntie.
Because, you know, I have a twin sister, and her son is also on the spectrum.
Right.
So we keep it in family. And, you know, a lot of times today is lighted up blue, but we, you know, are like World Autism Day, we have blue, but she also does pink because she's a girl. So speaking of,
Yeah, pink is like my, what is it called?
Your happy color? I don't know.
No,
Your signature color?
Not my signature color, but it's like a special color to me that makes me feel like
the
good.
color that vibrates.
Oh, yes.
Yes, the color that makes me feel like
the vibration
the
color,
best.
right?
She recently started wearing other colors other than that fuchsia pink.
Right.
On all
It's
of the
really good
things
color.
that you see, even in the article,
She has on fuchsia?
she has on like fuchsia, she has on pink. So it's a big deal for her to go.
It's like
but
her favorite color.
yeah, but the fuchsia and the pink, she told me a long time ago that, you know, not all boys, it's not always boys on the spectrum, it's girls too.
That's right.
So every
and
time
the UN said so today too.
Yeah, they were
sure did.
So there's that.
That's right.
Really remarkable. So, and you mentioned it is Lighted Up Blue Day today.
Yes.
Are you
it
going to
is
be
today Lighted Up Blue.
It is.
Yeah.
Are you gonna, and you're already lighting it up blue.
So the reason
I
why
have a
That's
blue one.
right.
And we're wearing blue for a very special reason. It's not just for the initiative in this country, you know. I was just telling Joanne, and you already know this, but I work with other societies outside of the U.S., Egypt in particular, and this is a gift that I received last year when we were there with Dalia Soliman. So I wanted to make sure that I represent a little bit more today and wear my blue and basically represent that awareness, the acceptance, and all the things that initiative stands for. So not just to be wearing blue and not just for in this country, but to unite us all on this day.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be a lovely thing?
I would love it the most. That's a
united,
dream.
And absolutely.
It's a dream of mine.
And as a self-advocate, you have a voice now at this point as a young woman to speak. What would you like to say to people on World Autism Awareness Day?
Well, don't give up. You can do it. And other couple things, it is hard. I'm not saying it's not hard, but it could be like easy if you believe it can be easy. It can be hard if you give up. Just don't give up. You can do it.
You're
I
a
believe.
powerful young woman. Those are powerful, powerful words.
Mm-hmm. Thank
you. And you think maybe when you're done with high school, you think art might be the thing that are you planning on going to college? What do you think?
I really want to go to college, but I think I'm gonna do halfway type deal and do maybe be a author because I've been writing a couple things down, or a poet.
Do you sing like your mom and your aunt too?
Of course.
Do you guys ever do 3-part harmony, the three of you?
I wish. I'm looking at you, Mom.
Right, we'll work on it. We'll work on it.
Okay.
We'll work
All
on
right.
it.
Well, I have not had the pleasure, but I hear great stories about your mom and your aunt singing and performing, that they are just a light. And so if you can sing like them, I think that would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, I try my best to live up to their expectations.
You're so sweet. You don't have to. You can be yourself.
I know.
Because I can't make that bracelet, so.
So people see this and they go, gosh, what? Because there is a stigma that's attached to when a child doesn't live at home.
Yes.
I mean, we have to say that. People go, oh, something happened. And you had said earlier, maybe it wouldn't have had to happen if you had gotten earlier services.
Yes. my nephew is a good example of that. So, you know, my sister Kalila has a son on the spectrum that is 7 and was diagnosed and did receive early intervention. He is even in an inclusion program at school, so he's like in 2nd grade right now. And so it makes a difference, because when the earlier you get, obviously, a diagnosis, the more you can start to work on it. And then heal from it. I really believe that. But if you can, and if you don't, I don't, because there's some people who are still not diagnosed and their kids are 10, 11, you get diagnosed later on in life. Like Keena said, you never want to give up on that, but you want to attack it head on. And I know that it may take some time for parents, but I guess the one thing, if you were to ask me, what I would tell the parents would be like, you know, listen, you have to do this for the good of your child at whatever age. And so if that means residential, I'm going to have this lovely woman in my life her whole entire life. So if I have to sacrifice a few years to make sure that she's to be an able-bodied adult and able to live out her dreams and have a happy life, I'll do that.
Yeah.
See it that way. Don't see it as, you know, and there's a way that you can do that you have to just, I feel, heal from the inside, which I have an announcement about that later, but you have to heal yourself from the inside and just start with you. I think I spoke last time about self-care.
Yes.
You know, you need to take really good care of yourself and know that you're your child's first defense to be able to get all of these services, because then you're going to need to collaborate with, you're going to be the parent still.
Yeah.
When you put your child in residential, now there is a foster age, you know, youth, there's foster youth that she lives with that don't have parents, but at the same time, I'm her parent.
Yes.
So I'm not gonna stop being her mom because she's in residential. I speak to her every night. I make sure that her IEPs are together, her IPPs are together, everything.
Yeah.
I'm her team captain, and she depends on me.
Yeah.
So she's not gonna stop depending on me because she's in residential, and parents need to know that.
Absolutely.
You don't just, it's not just, the kid is gone. No, it's now a partnership for services. And once you work in collaboration with that team, you can accomplish great things. I think this child is a walking testament.
Absolutely. But we should point out, it's not easy either way. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, you put your child in residential and it gets easier for you. It
sucks.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be, I mean, the random crying has just stopped. I mean, like, it hurts.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. It super hurts, because then you mourn twice and 3 times over your child's childhood. You mourn over not being able to get Easter baskets and, you know, Hanukkah this, Christmas that. You mourn over holidays. You mourn over, for instance, I mean, I know it's a little private, but when she became a female, you know, Mincy started, I wasn't with her.
Right.
You know,
Aww.
and I wasn't with, and that hurt me, you know,
Yes.
like when she got her hair done for the first time in a salon, I wasn't with her, which is a rites of passage for a black woman. I was not with her.
Right.
It hurt my soul. I was like, oh no. But then again, I trust her, and I raised her, and I'm still with her, guiding her every step of the way to trust the young lady that she is. So it was almost, it was a sadness, but it was a joy that she's doing for herself.
Yeah. And you made the tough, I think we have to go back to, you made the tough decision about what was best for her in that moment. And that's true parent.
It was not about me.
Right.
It was not about me, because if I would smother her if I could. Like, I think we can all tell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh,
she loves you.
Yeah. Well, everyone knows I'm a passionate mommy, but I
Right.
let that passion try to fuel me to help other kids as well. And it wasn't just about my kid, because
Right.
I thought, listen, I have an opportunity to really turn it around. For me, it totally sucked. I cried every day. I mean, let's be real. I still cry. I'm saddened every time the phone rings. You know, I drop the phone and she's not on it, and I'm not talking to her in at night. I cry. But I have a support system that helps me to get through that, and you all have been a part of that naturally. But it's really tough. It's an emotional thing to say that the reason why I did it and the reason why I continue to keep her there is because of her needs.
Yes.
Right? Because of what my child needs. It has nothing to do with me wanting her at home.
Well, it's a testament to a powerful, powerful woman. I have tissues.
I thought I wasn't gonna cry. I tried not to, but
it's okay.
I thought
it's a natural. It's like a natural de-stressor. So
That's right.
Listen to the counseling.
But I want to speak to the article.
I've been helping a lot of people this year. I don't think I need to praise.
Thank you.
But yes, Joanne,
I want to speak to the article,
Yes.
Kameena, and us together writing it, because typically when I write for Autism Asperger's Digest, which is each edition, I want to try to find a voice that's for someone else.
Yeah.
So this voice was very important to me because I knew already that the African American community was not being served correctly, because I was in the LA Unified School District for 10 years, and I saw everything. How our kids were being served, who had the behaviorists with them, who was getting speech and language, who was getting OT, who was getting diagnoses.
Yeah.
I already knew the answer to the question. And I said, let me write that article because we want other families to be strong advocates for their children, like you were. You said, I need help, and many times she was turned away.
Yeah.
She would go to a hospital and they would say, it's all in your parenting skills.
Yes.
You know, and this is still being done today. This was 12 years ago. It's still happening. And so if you live, and I want us to talk to the viewers, if you live in a community where people are not listening to you, the professionals are not listening to you, what do you advise to do?
You know, first of all, I'm going to go back and say that in this article, I think everybody should read it, first of all. Because the way it's written, she can tell you, I was like texting her in tears, like, oh my God, you captured my life so perfectly. I did that. Because that is exactly what my story was. I was sitting home with a note. When she used to have tantrums and meltdowns because the air would come on. She had sensory issues.
Yeah.
And she would just cry and cry and cry. And the neighbors would say that I was beating her and call Children's Services. And Children's Services used to come to the door, and I was living in a Koreatown at the time, so it wasn't a rich neighborhood, you know, and it was housing. It was a Section 8 housing.
Right.
And they came to me and said, you're beating your child, and she wouldn't have any clothes on. There was no marks on her. She was taking her clothes off because of the sensory issues.
Right.
And so I went to the doctors and said, you know, what's wrong with my child? I know something is wrong with this child.
Right.
I need help. She was about 18 months where they could have caught it. No one listened. The doctor sent me home and said, she's spoiled.
Wow.
She doesn't have a father, and she spends too much time with her grandmother. And so I've been, and then I called to get parenting classes. And they told me, when she picked up the phone, the lady said, we're not gonna report this to the courts that you've been here so you can get your child back. I said, well, great, because she's sitting right next to me, and I have custody of my child.
Right.
I'm not a drug addict or anything. And so every single time I went, but the thing that I want parents to know out of stuff like that is, hey, I'm one of you. First of all, I know exactly what you're talking about. So if this child can sit here, let me tell you, do not stop asking for help. It is for your child.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're a mother, you're a father, you're a grandmother, you're a family member, and you're gonna keep this this is gonna happen to you every single day if you don't get help for this child. The tantrums are not ever gonna stop.
Right.
They're never gonna eat anything other than yellow foods or whatever. You know, they have sensory issues and everything. So I would suggest that you find someone that understands you and listens to your voice. We personally went to Children's Hospital, and they have a clinic there, but emergency rooms are now, thanks to parents like myself and others who have been that influence, emergency rooms. You can go to the emergency room and let them know that you suspect your child might have some special needs or anything. Just say, hey, if you don't know the language to use, I sincerely feel like something's wrong with my child. She won't stop screaming. What do I do?
Right.
Where can I get help? Simple as that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And really continue. The regional centers are going to tell you no the first time. You know, keep going, ask again.
Exactly. I tell you, one of the biggest things that Bonnie Yates said to me recently was that we need to use the words, when we're talking to officials and they're not listening to us, to use the words child find, because they have all been supposedly educated that they're supposed to identify and bring kids to services, and if you've used the word child find to them and they don't refer you, that it can be a lawsuit against them. So
Really?
to use the words child find and say, I understand there's child find and I think my child qualifies and whatever, and they should recognize that from their training and go, oh, I'm going to be in trouble if I don't do something.
Okay. That's great advice.
Yeah.
And I hope that not too many people have to use it. But when they do, use it. And whatever you do, make sure that you are drawing attention to the fact that you have concerns about your child. If it takes child find, do it.
There we go.
Do it.
There we go. Because we can see things can get a whole lot better, and you can end up having this fabulous, articulate 15-year-old young lady.
She's been through a lot. She has been through a lot. And I think that I asked her, did she want to come on, and what did you say?
Of course, it's my duty.
It's her duty. She wants to help other kids, and you know, and it helps that you have a cousin, I guess, on the spectrum. I know it's probably tough for her.
She's like, well, he's younger, and
It's
so
okay. I like helping him.
That's awesome.
Hope he hears this, but yeah.
Now we're getting close to the end of the show, and I know you had other things that you wanted to talk about too. You got something you want to share.
I wanted to, you know, show off my daughter. Yes,
I think you've
but
done that.
Okay, so here's back to the other things that I'm doing. So I am taking my show on the road constantly. I'm going back to Egypt in May.
Yay.
It'll be after this season, but we're still going to be there with the Egyptian Autistic Society, and so we're going to talk to Dalia Suleiman again. And so I'm breaking off into autism parent education. Is the program that I call it. And also, I am the forthcoming author of a Hay House, a Balboa Press release. And the title of the book is going to be Black and Blue, The Inside Job to Healing in Autism.
Oh, beautiful. That takes my breath away.
Oh, thank you.
Hay House. Hay House.
And that's going to mesh all of my worlds together. My daughter was talking about meditation and healing, and for anybody who knows me, I'm bringing out my most private self to come out and speak to that, how I heal myself from the inside, and then I helped her, and then, you know, helping other parents to just understand self-care through spirituality. But there's going to be lessons, and my whole story is going to be in there. And so, for my final trick, I'm going to also be creating a docuseries from that. And so I'm going to be looking for other families as well to help me share the stories that are so important to them, let their voice be heard. And it's going to be a tough ride, but a good one.
Yes.
And so anybody who wants to reach me, they can reach me on my Facebook, Kameena Speaks. And so I'm sure that we'll have some links to that at some other point. Even when we have at the show, they'll see my name and they'll be able to spell Kameena and then Speaks on Facebook. And so, yes, I'm going to now be writing a book. March 1st, 2019 is going to be the release date that we have so far. And I'm going to be looking for those other families during that same time to tell that story within the docuseries.
Okay, so people should write to you if they want to be a family featured on your docuseries.
Right. I'm ready. Los Angeles area is where we're going to be based out of, so I'm going to be looking for those families first to be able to shoot them and putting on my director hat. But also families via Skype, and we will be doing some international travel. So good things are coming, and we're not going to stop until we see that unification, until we get some help for these parents and self-care.
Well, you're an amazing young woman with many talents, and it's so lovely to finally meet your daughter. She's said wonderful things about you before, and so it's a thrill. She kind of brags on you. But that's a mom's job to do that. But it turns out she was right to brag. Because you're pretty fabulous. And thank you for being here. And you got to come back and share when you've got stories and pictures from Egypt, and then, you know, obviously for the book. And I want to thank you guys for being here. And I got to thank you. You have just like made this day so possible. And I just want to point out that each and every one of these things, you know, Joanne is the powerhouse, right? Each and every one of the things that we had on today, you're connected to every single one of them. It's like all good things come from Joanne Lara. And
I'm going to cry. Give me
she does. And you are an integral part of this autism community and help to connect people to all kinds of wonderful things. And it's a privilege because the rest of us, we got opted into this. And we didn't necessarily choose. Right. You're the only person that we've had on the show today that chose to be a part of the autism community.
I love my community.
That was not enlisted through other means. And that to me is huge.
So sweet. You know, I come through the education system. for LA Unified School District as a teacher. And for me, it's all about education. It's all about advocating, as Kameena says. It's all about people listening and bringing diversity everywhere we can, into the workplace, into the education system, into the services. Everything needs, I mean, look, there's always work to be done.
Always.
You're going to Egypt. I love that. You're going to Egypt. And I said earlier on when we were out talking, I said, what do they have in Egypt? Nothing?
Yeah. She
said, yeah, nothing. You know, it's like me going to Asia when I go to India and Kuala Lumpur and China. You know, we have it real good here in California,
Yeah, it's hard,
in this
hard
country.
to connect to that, but it's true.
And this country.
But what I love is that you say all these things, Joanne, but that's just a part of, because you're so busy doing. You are a doer, not a talker.
Yeah.
And you know, next thing we'll hear is that Joanne is going to Africa or Egypt or, you know, whatever.
We already
talked
about it.
Go to Egypt with you.
We talked about that. We talked about South Africa and Ghana. Like the list is growing for that as well. And of course, I'm enlisting,
the
help of my people.
Yes. Well, and I have to say, for my little piece of territory, that years ago, it's like 2-3 years ago, I had Joanne come and do the show, and then I had Kameena on the show later on, and we were outside walking, and Joanne walked back because she forgot something, and Kameena was like grabbing her chest and going, oh my gosh, is that Joanne Lara? I saw her speak. Can I go and talk to her? And then the two of you, I turned my back for a second, and you guys are doing all kinds of things together. That's how it works. That's how you two roll.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I love it.
Little angels are sitting on all our shoulders.
I hope so.
Yeah. They definitely are. And for people who just, thank you for doing such a great job on this article, so that I got to include my girl and continue to do some good work. And so there's going to be some really good work that comes out of it.
That's right. And we're also going to be giving the magazines at the Autism Speaks.
At the Autism Walk.
At the walk. Not for everyone, but not for everyone that comes to the walk, but for
the Grand Club. Yeah, we're going to be doing it in Grand Club, and she's going to be there. I'm going to be there, and you can find us where good work is being done. You know what I mean? So you're going to see a multitude of things, and a cruise, and even the bracelets and everything we wear. We try to represent support and support each other. And so even if there's other organizations out there, if they're non-specific, we go, and I'm sure she'll agree with me, we go where the work needs to be done.
That's right.
Yeah. So I am the chair for this year, and that's going to be April 28th.
That's right.
At the Rose Bowl. And what else do I want to say about that? Keto will be there. She's going to do the mission moment, and she raised money for it. So it's really, you want to?
$25 from my principal, Emily.
Nice.
And we're going to still be fundraising. This was something that she wanted to do.
I love that.
And so I'm definitely making this happen. She's the reason why I said yes, because I asked her.
Yes.
And what did you say?
And I said, go for it.
She's like, Mom, if you can do it, go for it. So we'll be there.
It's a panel of powerful women, and that's what it's been all day today. Yeah. Powerful women and Matt Asner.
And Matt Asner.
That's what today was. Powerful,
I love that.
Powerful women and Matt Asner.
And the men who love us.
That's right.
And the men who love us.
Yes, there we go. All right. Well, we have been on now for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm tired. Are you pooped?
Yes,
Can we
I'm
call
exhausted.
This?
Yes.
It's World Autism Awareness Day. For those of you who are lighting it up blue today, we encourage you to light it up blue. For those of you who are doing other things today, whatever it means to you, World Autism Awareness Day. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a great day.
Thank you to Temple and Anita and to the Asner Paskowitzes. That's it for today. I will be back here on Wednesday with a live show. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.